Hi, my name is Awais and I welcome you to this JavaScript course for beginners. This is the first video. In this video, I'm going to give you the introduction of JavaScript. Now, let's say this is your web page. Before we start writing some JavaScript, let's get some core concept cleared up. It's very common to see JavaScript referred to as one of the three core languages of web page. You have the HTML markup language for content and structure. What's your headline? How many deviants are in your page? How many paragraphs do you have? And what are the content of those paragraphs? And then the CSS, the style sheet language, which stands for Cascade Style Sheet. What font does the headline use? What's the background color of the page? What's the width of a div? And then the JavaScript, the programming language for behavior and interactivity. What happens when you mouse over a menu? What happens when you type the wrong value in the form field? How long a photo slide takes to move from one image? JavaScript is a programming language that you will often hear as a scripting language. And sometimes you will hear some developers dismiss JavaScript as just being a scripting language. And what they mean by that is that JavaScript is intentionally limited. I won't be able to write a desktop application in JavaScript the way I might do in C++ or Java or .NET or Objective-C. JavaScript only works inside another application, the web browser, whether that's IE or Safari on the Mac, Firefox, Chrome or Opera. They all have the JavaScript engine inside them. The operating system runs the web browser, and web browser contains a page, and the page contains JavaScript. JavaScript is a dynamic computer language. It is lightweight and most commonly used as a part of the web page, whose implementations allow client-side script to interact with the user to make dynamic pages. JavaScript has object-oriented capabilities as well. Let's talk about client-side JavaScript. Client-side JavaScript is the most common form of the language. The script should be included in or referenced by an HTML document for the code to be interpreted by the browser. It means that a web page need not to be a static HTML. It can include programs that interact with the user, control the browser, and dynamically create HTML content. Well, JavaScript client-side mechanism provides many advantages over traditional CGI server-side scripting. For example, you might use JavaScript to check if the user has entered the valid email address in the form field. The JavaScript code is executed when the user submits the form, and only if all the entries are valid, they would be able to submit to the web server. And JavaScript can be used to trap user-initiated events, such as click on a button, link navigation, and other actions that user initiates. There are a few limitations of JavaScript. We cannot treat JavaScript as a full-fledged programming language. It lacks the following important features. Client-side JavaScript does not allow reading or writing files. JavaScript cannot be used for networking applications because there is no such support available, and JavaScript does not have capabilities of multi-threading and multiprocessor. Now, there are a few advantages of JavaScript as well, such as less server interaction. You can validate user input before sending to the page to the server. This saves server's traffic, which means less load on the server. Immediate feedback to the visitors. Well, people who sign up on your website, they don't have to wait for page to reload and then they find out that they forgot something to put. You can create interactivity. Well, on the pages you see that when you take your cursor on the menu and it just pop out. So that kind of interactivity can be done by JavaScript. Now we have richer interface. You can use JavaScript to include such items as drag and drop components and sliders to give a rich interface to your site visitors. Now, what do we need to work with JavaScript? Well, JavaScript is a language for browser. So you need to have a browser installed, and I'm pretty sure you have one of the browser installed in your PC, or whether you're on a Mac, you must have a Safari. On a PC, you must have IE. So I'll be using Chrome throughout this course. And next thing we need is a web development IDE. There are so many IDEs available for free online. So I'll be using Atom, and I'll show you how to download and install Atom in the next video. Alright guys, so that's it for this video. If you have any question, let me know in the comments below. If you like the video, let me know in the comments below, and make sure you join our Facebook groups for programmers. I'll drop a link in the description, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the course. Welcome back everybody, my name is Awais, and welcome to the second video of JavaScript Essential Training Series. In the first video, I actually mentioned that I'll be using Atom as a text editor for JavaScript coding, but actually I changed my mind, so we'll be using Visual Studio Code. Well, it doesn't really matter which text editor do you use, it's all up to you, but I'll be using Visual Studio Code. So I've already downloaded this Visual Studio, downloaded from code.visualstudio.com. I'll drop a link in the description. And there you go, that's our code, and I have the project open. How do you open the project? You simply go to the file menu and then click on open, and here you need to select the folder. So if you don't have any folder, create an empty folder, select that and just open it. Well, I have here one file. I have few CSS files as well, but we're not using them. I have this index.html file, and that's pretty much it. And the cool thing about this editor is that you see those icons here as well. These are really cool, and you can download some extensions by clicking on this button, and then here you can see what extension I have downloaded to work with the JavaScript. So I have the Beautify, Dracula Official, this is a theme, guides, and so on. We need to know a few things before we write our Hello World application in JavaScript. So JavaScript is a case-sensitive language. This means that the language keyword, variable, function names, and any other identifier must always be typed with a consistent capitalization of letters. I'm going to write JavaScript code within my HTML file. Well, in the bigger applications, we don't really write JavaScript and HTML together. We create a separate file and write our code there and link that JavaScript file to our HTML file. Now let's delete this h1, and I'm going to write a JavaScript code now. So we start with a tag on, we type script, we type language, so LAN, type JavaScript, and then type. Here we type text/JavaScript, close the tag, go to the next line, open tag with the slash, close it. Okay, so now I'm going to type an JavaScript function. I'm going to write a statement in JavaScript now between these script tags. So let's say we want to pop up a message on a web page saying hello world. So how do we do that? For that, we type alert and then open parentheses, add double quotation, because we are going to write a string to the message. So let's type hello world, get out from the quotation, get out from the parentheses, and you make sure that you type semicolons. Make sure you type at semicolon at the end, because that's the way you write a statement in JavaScript. This is the syntax, and if you forget this, your JavaScript might not work. So make sure you type the semicolon, don't forget to type semicolon. Now I'm going to save the file. Let's go to the browser. I'm going to refresh this. Once I refresh the page, I get this pop-up message, hello world. I know it looks funny, it looks weird, like no one uses it anymore, but this is where we start learning JavaScript or any other language. We write the hello world program first. Now let's go back, and here I'm going to delete this statement, and we're going to write another statement. Now let's say you want to write hello world onto your page using JavaScript. So for that, we type document.write and then open parentheses, add quotation, and then type the message, whatever you want to write there. So in this case, we're writing hello world, get out from your quotation and parentheses, add a semicolon. Let's save it. Let's go back to the browser. I'm going to click OK, and I'll refresh the page, and there you go. So our JavaScript is working. Next thing I want to talk about, why we put this script in the body tag. Why we can't put that in a head tag. Well, let me give you an example. I'm going to move this body from body tag and I'm going to cut it and I'm going to paste it to a head tag. And then I'm going to just fix up the indentation, and here we are going to type h1 tag, close it, and then type hello world, this is a Java application. Sorry, JavaScript, because Java is my favorite language. I've worked in Java a lot, so I keep saying Java. It's actually JavaScript. So JavaScript application, close h1 tag. And now I'm going to save this file, and instead of writing a hello world to the document, I'm going to use the alert tag. So alert, remember JavaScript is case sensitive, so we can't type alert in a capital letters. So open it, type hello world. Now if you notice that we have this h1 tag in a body, right? Well, when we refresh the page, it should write this hello world, and it should pop up the message as well saying hello world, right? Let's see what happens. I'm going to refresh the page, and then I will see that hello world is there, but the actual page did not refresh. To give you a proper example, let's close this, and we are going to open the browser again. Right click and open in browser, and there you go. So you can see that we got the hello world, but we're not seeing our h1 tag which says hello world, this is a JavaScript application. Why is that? Because when the browser comes to this line, it alerts this message, it pop-ups this message and stop everything else. So this is very important that you put your JavaScript code at the bottom so your page loads completely, and then the JavaScript comes to work. JavaScript supports both C style and C++ style comments as well. So any text between the comments will be grayed out, will not be read by a browser compiler. So how do we write the comments in JavaScript? So let's say we want to grade this out. So what I will do, I will just type backslash twice, and this is now comment out. So the JavaScript compiler won't read this. Now if you want to add the comments to multiple lines, so let's say if we remove this comment here, and I'm gonna just copy and paste this few times. So just copy them, copy that statement, paste it a few times, and you want to comment out all these 3 lines, right? So what would you do? We'll just add backslash and static, and then you go down and make space, and then add static, and then backslash again. So this is how you can define the comments in JavaScript. Comments are very useful. Let me give you an example. Let's say you are working on a bigger project, and there are like 10 people working on the same project, and you made an edit to this index.html file, and one of your colleague comes back to this file and see it's been changed. And how would he find out that what's been changed? The only way he can find out what's been changed in the file if you have written the comments by saying, oh, I made this change. So comments are very useful. Every programming language offers to write comments, so it's available in pretty much every language. Now let's learn how we can attach our JavaScript external file into our HTML file. Now if your application becomes bigger and bigger, it's the go-to way that you put all your JavaScript code into a separate file. Well, it would be easier to read, right? So what I'm gonna do, I'm going to delete this tag for now, and then we are going to create a new file. So I'm going to click on scripts, actually right click, click on new file, and I'm gonna name the file script.js. So JavaScript has an extension of .js, so remember that. I'm gonna press enter to create the file. So this is our file. Now we need to attach this file into our index.html to make it work. Well, we have seen what are the benefits of adding script tag into the body at the bottom. For that, I'm going to go to in body tag, and we are going to add a script tag. So type script, type, and here we're going to type JavaScript, and then I'm going to type source, and then here we can define our folder first. So folder is scripts/script.js, And now Visual Studio Code did not write .js, so make sure you add .js, and then get out from the quotation, close it, and close it with the script tag. Okay, let's save the file. Now our file has been attached. There's one thing you can do here is you can type text/JavaScript. Alright, let me save the file, and now I'm gonna go to script.js, and here we're going to type alert, and here we type is the file attached. Make sure you put the semicolon at the last, save the file. Now we go to the browser and we open this file. So I'm going to right click here, click on open in browser, and there you go. So we got our JavaScript working. Is this file attached? And click OK, and now hello world, this is the Java application. Alright, so now we have learned how to type JavaScript code within HTML file and how to attach our JavaScript file, external file to our index.html. Alright, so in the next video we are going to learn about variables in Java. Welcome back everybody, my name is Awais, and this is the third video of JavaScript Essential Training series. In this video I'm going to be talking about variables in JavaScript. So in all programs and in all other programming languages, we have to keep track of many pieces of data. It could be your email address, your date of birth, your name, your address, your result from the school, and so many other things. So to store all data, we create variables. A variable is a container, and it allocates a little piece of memory into a computer by giving it a name, so we can use it while our JavaScript is running. We create it, we can name it, we can put values in it, and then we change the value as we need it. In JavaScript, we create a variable like this. You type the keyword var and then the name of your variable. In this case, I'm going to name my variable A and then the semicolon at the end. The name of the variable itself is up to us, and it should represent the piece of data that we want to hold in it. In this case, I just named it A, so A doesn't represent anything, right? Why can't we just say my name, and then I can initialize it with the value in it. I'm going to use assignment operator, which is an equal to sign in JavaScript, and then in double quotation I'll type my name, and this is a variable my name which holds the value of my name. In JavaScript, the variable names can be start from letters, numbers, underscore, and $, but you cannot start a variable name with a number. For example, I will create another variable, so type var, and I will name it A is equal to 1. And then we create another variable, var 1a is equal to 2. And now you can see we have an error. So Visual Studio Code is telling us that this is not allowed in JavaScript. We cannot start a variable name with the number. But what if I change the A and 1? Now it is allowed. So you can start your variable name with the letter, and then you can add underscore, $, numbers to it. Now, I've created 2 variables. I'm going to delete all of them. So we create 3 more variables, so it would be easier for us to understand. Now var A, semicolon, var B, semicolon, var C, semicolon. So I have 3 variables here. Let's say you want to make multiple variables. Now there's another way you can do. So I used 3 lines to create 3 variables. What if I want to use this 1 line to create all of these variables? So I can do it this way, var A, and I can separate it with comma, B, comma, C, and a semicolon. That statement does the same job for creating 3 variables A, B, and C. If you have watched my Java tutorials, in Java or many other programming languages, we provide a data type as well. So what I will do here, I'm going to delete these 3 variables, and we initialize this A, B, and C variable. So the first variable, which is a, I'm going to initialize it with equal to sign and the value I want to store in a. So I'll store 1. Now in b, I will type is equal to, which is an assignment operator, and I will add double quotation and I will type my name Awais. Third variable, type is equal to, and here we can say true. Alright, so you see that we have the variable a, b, and c, and we got the different types of data in those variables. If it was Java, it will give you an error because Java needs to know that what type of data you are going to store in it. In JavaScript, we don't have to define a data type. Well, JavaScript is what's called a weakly typed language. We don't make an integer variable or a text variable or a Boolean variable. We just use the word var to create a generic variable and then simply put whatever data type you want to put in. So I executed the line var1 and then var b a and then var c true or false. So the first is an integer variable, and then the second one is a string variable, and the third one is a Boolean variable. Now let's look at how we can create these variables in one line. We created 3 variables where we did not initialize them. So what if I can do var a is equal to 2, comma, and b is equal to 3, comma, and then c equal to 4 and a semicolon. Now we got 3 variables in this statement which has the name a, b, and c, and we actually initialize the value on the same line. So you can create multiple variables on the same line with initialized values. Now one more thing I want to say here before we finish this video, that Java is case sensitive. That means if I create a var variable, capital A is equal to 1 and then add semicolon. Now you might be thinking that they are the same name, so they must be the same variable. No, they're not. Java is case sensitive, so lowercase a is not equal to uppercase a. They are totally different variables. So Java is case sensitive. Now before we finish this video, I will just make a quick exercise. Well, what we will do, we will say var b is equal to 2, and then we are going to create another variable var result is equal to a plus b and semicolon. Now a has a value of 1, b has a value of 2, and then var result has a value of a plus b, so that would be 3. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to delete the alert on the top, and then I'm going to type here alert, and then here we type the name of the variable result and then add semicolon. I'm going to save the file. We have this index.html. I'm going to open that into a browser, and there you go. So we got the value 3. That's the answer. So that is how we display the result in HTML by using JavaScript. Alright, so this is how you create variables. I hope you understood how variable works in JavaScript and different way of making variables. So in the next video we are going to talk about conditional statement. That's very important. So stay tuned for that, subscribe to the channel, and if you're interested in learning programming, guys, please join our Facebook group. I'll drop a link in the description. Please check it out, join the group, and yeah, you can ask the question over there, and I'm there, and a few of my friends or developer or available there, so we can all help you out. And yeah, that's it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Cheers. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Awais, and this is the 4th video of JavaScript Essential Training Series. In this video, we are going to learn about JavaScript data types and condition statements. So, one of the most fundamental characteristics of a programming language is a set of data type it supports. There are the type of values that can be represented and manipulated in programming language. JavaScript allows you to work with three primitive data types: numbers, strings, and booleans. I have a file script.js, that's what I'm going to open. First, let me give you an example of numbers, string, and booleans. So, for that we are going to create three variables. I'm going to create a first variable var, and I'm going to make it string. So, I'll type my name as a string variable. So type my name. This is a variable name, it's not a value. So we use assignment operator is equal to, and then I'll press spacebar, and then the string always goes into quotation. So type double quotation, and then whatever the string you want to add, it just can be a one letter, it can be a sentence, it can be a single word. So I'll type my name, Awais, and then get out from the quotation, press semicolon. So this is a string data type which is stored in my name variable. Now we create another variable var, and I'll name it number is equal to, and I will just type whatever the number I want to type and press semicolon. And now this variable has a number data type. Now with this, as you can see, we didn't have to add a quotation marks. Quotation marks represent a string data type. So wherever you see quotation, that means it's a string. With numbers, you just have to type numbers and nothing else. I will change the value to 1. Now in JavaScript and many other programming languages, they allow you to apply the Boolean data type. Boolean means whether it's true or it's false. So we'll try that now. Let's create another variable. I'll name it Boolean is equal to, and you can set this to false, or you can, I'm just gonna create another variable, so I'll just explain to you guys, is equal to, so I'm gonna say Boolean1 is equal to true. Okay, so you just have to type false or true. So that variable value can be true or false. So that is a Boolean data type. Well, JavaScript also defines two tribal data type, null and undefined. Well, let me show you one more thing here. We can create an empty variable which does not have any variable. So, undefined variable. Okay, so now we understand the data types in JavaScript. I think it's time for us to learn the condition statements in Java. In any other programming language, the classic if statements comes to use here. So the if statement checks whether the condition is true, and if the condition is true, it will run that code. Now, how do we write the if statement in JavaScript? First, let's create another variable, b, and we are going to initialize these two variables. I'm going to set them to 10, and I will set the b to 20. Now I want to check whether a is less than b or greater than b. How do we do that? There is an operator. We have learned this equal to sign operator, right? But I'll show you another operator now. Now we are going to start with if statement. So if, and now you need to open parentheses. So these two guys are called parentheses, and you type your condition inside it. As you can see, I'm hovering over that and it says expression expected. Now, I'm not gonna write any condition right now, but I'll just get out from the parentheses, and then we need to add a code block. So these two braces are called code blocks. So these two guys are code blocks, and we represent the code block with the braces with these two guys, and then press enter. That is the most traditional way to write if statement in any programming language. I know Java, C++, and always write this if statement like this. Okay, so we'll check few things here. I'm going to type a variable a. Now we already defined it's a variable, right? We don't have to type var again. We just have to use the variable name, and it will automatically detect that what is the data type inside that. So if I hover over my cursor here, the Visual Studio Code is pretty great. It's telling me that var a has a numeric data type inside. It has a number inside, right? So what we can do here, I'll say if a less than b, b is the same data type with the number, and then press enter. So I'll say if a is less than b, then I'll tell the compiler to go down inside the code block and run this code. So what we can write here, we can write, let's say I will create another variable and I will store a addition of a and b. So let's type result is equal to a plus b. Okay, so var is equal to result, sorry, var is the keyword, and the result is equal to a plus b. So addition of these two values will be stored in result, and then we can write that onto the web page. Well, if you want to use the alert box, or if you want to write that on the web page, there's two different ways. We will write that on the web page. So we will say document.write, and then I will open the parentheses, and now we need to type the string. I will say the result of a and b is, and then we get out from the quotation, and then I'll type comma, and then I'll type result as a variable name, get out from the parentheses, add a semicolon. I will save the file. Now I have already opened index.html, which has this script tag where we're linking our JavaScript into this. So what I'm gonna do, I'm going to open that page and I will refresh that. So I'm gonna refresh it, and there you go. So it's telling me that the result of a and b is 3. Now with the if statement, we have an else as well. So let's say if we want to tell that if this is not true, then what it should do. Now we can use the else clause. So type else, and then now we are going to use the code block again, and then we will say document.write, and then we add the data is not valid, of whatever message you want to pass. Now if I change a to 30 and save the JS file, we go back and refresh it, and what do you think what it's gonna print out? As you can see, it says data is not valid. Now our JavaScript if condition is actually checking whether a is less than b or a is greater than b. So if a is less than b, then we'll jump into this code and then write this statement. And if a is not less than b, then it will go to the else clause and it will write this for us. So this is how you can write if statement in JavaScript. There's a lot more to it. I will be covering a lot of things in the couple of videos, so like stay tuned for this, guys. If you're willing to learn JavaScript. Thanks for watching, and please join our Facebook group. I'll drop a link in the description, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe this channel, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Cheers. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Awais, and welcome to the JavaScript video 4. In this video, we are going to talk about operators. So the common operators in any programming language, we have arithmetic operators. They are plus, minus, multiply, division. Now we can use them like 5 plus 5, 5 minus 5, 5 multiplied by 5, 5 divided by 5. And we can use them with the variables as well. So here you can see I'm creating a variable addition, which is equal to a plus b. So there's a variable a which has a value in it, and the variable b which has a value, and we are adding those variables. It could be strings, it could be numeric digits. So the next thing what we're going to talk about is shorthand. Arithmetic operators are very common in any programming language, so we have a shorthand for them. Let me show you an example. So we have a list is equal to list plus 10. What it's doing here, it's adding 10 to the list variable. Well, you can write this, but there's a better way to do this. If I show you list plus equal to 10, it's actually doing the same thing. It's taking the list variable and adding 10 to it. Obviously, we have plus equal to, and then we have plus equal to for minus equal to, multiply equal to, divide equal to. So we have all of these four, and you just add equal to sign next to it, and then the value you want to add to the variable. Next, JavaScript has this operator precedence. Let me give you an example. So list equal to 10 plus 10 multiplied by 20. So what it's going to do here, if you can give a guess, you might think that it will add 10 plus 10, 20, and then it will multiply 20 to 20, which is going to give me 400. So that would be in the list value, right? But this is actually wrong. So what it's going to do, it's going to multiply 20 to 10 first, and then add 10 to 10. So the answer would be 210. So multiplication operator has a precedence over addition. But let's say you want to make sure that we add 10 plus 10 first and then multiply to 20. Then you can use parentheses and you can surround your code with the parentheses. So now we added a parenthesis here. That means 10 plus 10 would be 20, and then it will be multiplied by 20, and then we get the value 400. Let me give you an example. So we create two variables. We have one variable here, A. We'll actually use that. So now we can say 10 plus 10 and then multiply 20. Okay, and then we can alert this, and I'm going to type variable name and then save the file, and then let's refresh this page, and the answer is 210. Now as you can see, it's multiplying 10 with 20 and then adding 10 to it. But what if I add parentheses around 10 plus 10? So it will execute this block of code first, and then the answer will be multiplied to 20. Now let's save the file and we refresh the page again, and now the answer is 400. Now I think you understand what I mean. Now let's go back to the presentation. The next thing we're going to talk about is comparison operators. Now we have assignment operator, we have equality operator, and we have a strict equality operator. Let's look at the example. I'm going to create two variables, var a. I'm going to set this to 20, and then we're going to create another var b is equal to, in the quotation, 20, and then we will use the condition statement. Let's write if, add a condition in the parentheses, so a equal to b. Then what it should do, add a code block here, and then we'll say let's alert they are equal. Okay, after finishing this statement, we type else. If they're not equal, then print out alert they are not equal. Alright, let's save the file and let's go to the browser. Let's refresh the page, and now you can see they're telling me they are equal. Well, how? You can see this is a numeric value and this is a string value, 20. But JavaScript is like, it's not that strict compared to Java. So what it will do, it will just say that, oh, A is a numeric value, has a different data type, but B has the same value in it. So I would just assume that this is the same variable. But what if we change this to double equal to? Let's save the file. Now let's refresh that again. And then it's still telling you, yes, they are equal. Now, the difference between a double equal to and one equal to is that basically if we change this to A is equal to B, that means it's setting the A value to B. Okay, so what if we just write on a document, let's just say document dot write, and then we'll write the value of A. Okay, and now I'm going to refresh the page. We click OK, and you see this value 20 there. Okay, so what is going on here, that basically it's setting the value for A value to B with using single equal to sign. That's the assignment operator. Well, we need to check whether it's equal to or not. So then we use double equal to. Now it's not setting the value of A to B, but it's actually checking whether A is actually equal to 20. So that's the difference. Now we have seen that it is going to give us the same. Yes, they are equal. Now what if we add another equal to? This is called strict equality. Now if I refresh the page, well, we need to save the file. Let's save this file, and then we go and refresh the page, and now you can see this telling me they are not equal. Why? Because we have told the JavaScript compiler that we need to check strictly. We need to check data type, we need to check the values in it. So now if I change this to 20, save the file, and then we refresh the page, and now they are equal because they have the same data type and the same value in it. Now let's go back to presentation. And here we have a comparison operator, and then we have equal to, which sets the value of B to A, and the exclamation mark basically means that A is not equal to B. And then we have seen the strict equality with 3 equal to sign. Now we have a greater than, less than, greater than equal to, less than equal to. So let's understand them. Let me take you back to the code, and we will change the value here. Now I'm going to change this A greater than to B. Let's save the file, and we're going to refresh the page. And now as you can see, they are not equal. So that means 2020, they're not equal because we are getting the second statement to be executed, because 2020 A is not greater than B, because 20 is not greater than 20. Now if we change this to greater than equal to sign, now save the file, let's go and refresh the page, and now they are greater because we're saying that if A is equal to or greater than B, then run this statement, otherwise run this statement. Alright, so that's the difference between. Now let's go back to the presentation. All of these, you understand what they mean. Now we have a logical operator, and sometimes in a condition statement you have to have 2 conditions to be true, and then you want to execute some kind of statement. So for that we use this AND sign. Now let's go to our code, and we are going to say, let's say I will create a few more variables here. So let's type varc, we set that equal to, let's say 30, and then var d is equal to, let's say 40. Add a semicolon, save the file. Now we can add another if statement here. Let me delete this, and then what we're going to do here, I'm going to say if A is greater than equal to B and spacebar, and now we type the and sign, ampersand sign, so twice ampersand sign, right? And then we can add another statement here. So I would say if A greater than equal to B, and I want to check if C is less than equal to D, and then we're going to execute this. So I'll say document dot write, and then we write yes they are. We'll just say condition is true, condition is true. Add a semicolon. I'm going to delete this document.write 8, and then we can say else document.write, I can write condition is not true. Alright, let's save the file, let's go back to the, I'm gonna refresh it, and it's telling me condition is true. And let's look at the condition. So if A is greater than or equal to B, that means A has to be equal to or greater than B, which is exactly right. So A value is 20, B value is 20, which sets it to equal to B. So this condition is true. And then C less than equal to D. So if C is less than or equal to D, so we can see that the 30 is less than 40, so that condition is true as well. Now I'm going to change this to, let's say, 50. Okay, now let's save the file, and now we should have the second condition to be executed. So let's refresh the page, and we can say that the condition is not true. Now this is the ampersand sign, which checks the both conditions. So the both condition has to be true. We have another operator. So we have another operator, OR operator. Okay, so what it does, it basically checks one of the condition must be true, and then the return value will be true. So we can say OR, so A greater than or equal to B, which is 20, 20, which is this condition is true. We know that, right? But the program doesn't know yet. So I'm saying R, C less than or equal to D, and C is not less than or equal to D because the value of C is 50. So this condition is false. So because we're using the OR operator, so even one of these conditions will be true, then we can run this code here, or otherwise it will go to the else clause. Now let's save the file, and we should get condition is true as output. Now refresh the page, and you can see condition is true. So let's go back to the presentation. Now we have something called increment and decrement. So we added a, if we want to add a 1 to any value, we add it by just setting like A is equal to A plus 1. This is a long way to do it. We have seen this before, but I want to show you this A plus plus operator. So we have the shorthand form, which is plus equal to 1, which will add 1 to A. But we have even shorter, we have A plus plus, that's called increment operator. And obviously we got B minus minus for decrement operator. It's the same thing. If you want to subtract 1 from your variable value, then you can use B minus minus. So the shorthand is minus equal to 1, and then even shorter you can use simply B minus minus, which will subtract a 1 from your variable value. Now we have this A is equal to A plus 1, which is the increment operator, and B for the minus. So there's a thing called prefix and postfix. So I'll give you an example of this by writing a code as well. So we have this A plus plus and B minus minus. So here we're adding 1 to the variable, and here we're subtracting 1 to the variable. But what if I add plus plus before the variable name? What's the difference if we add plus plus before the variable name? So that is called pre-increment or pre-decrement. We have this post-increment and post-decrement here. Now let's go back to the code. I'm going to clear up the code here. Now we have the variable A, which has the value of 20. I'm going to change this to, let's say, some 5, and let's save the file. And now we are going to print out this in the alert box. So alert, and just type A at semicolon, and let's go and refresh the page, and we should see 5 as a value. Now I'm going to type A plus plus here, which will add the value to our A variable. It will add 1 to our A value. Okay, I think I've saved the file. Let's go back and then just refresh it. Now you can see we still have 5, but we were expecting 6 instead, right? So what is going on here? We are basically printing out A, and then we are incrementing the values. So the compiler pop up the alert box by the actual value A has. So right now A has 5, and after that it get incremented. So what if I change the value to plus plus A, and now we should get the value 6. Let's save it, and now let's look at it. Now you can see 6. So the pre-increment basically increments the value first and then execute that statement. And the post increment does not increment the value, but just execute the statement, and after that it add 1 to the actual value. So that's the difference between post and pre. Now we have this ternary operator. Well, I'll explain in a second. Let's go back to the code. You might have not heard of this statement before in any of the program language. So for that, I'm going to give you a demo here. So we have a variable A. I'm going to create another variable B, and I'm going to set the value of, let's say, 6 here. Now let's go and add a condition statement. I'm going to say here, if A greater than B, then we want to print out the A is greater than B. So we can actually create a variable C and we can add a string to it. So let's just say A greater than B. Add a semicolon. And now here we can just simply print out alert C. Okay. And else we can say, we can print out something else, alert A is not greater than B. Okay, you see this whole lot of code here that we have to write. So there is an alternative for that. I'm going to comment this out by just typing this, and we finish the comment here. Okay, let me show you the easiest way and the quicker way. You might come across with this statement in JavaScript programming. So what we do, we create another variable, or maybe we can just simply use this C variable. I'm going to delete here, and then I'm gonna here say, I'm gonna open the parentheses, and I'm going to say if A greater than B, and then the question mark, it's gonna ask for it. So C gonna store the value of if it's true or false. So if A greater than B, then we can add question mark and then the actual value what we want to print. So first value is going to be true and the second is going to be false. So what we're going to show is alert, and then here we can type yes, or maybe we can just type true and then add a colon here. So make sure you add colon, not the semicolon. And now it's a false value. So the false value, we can say alert false, and that's it. So that whole of the code you can write in a single line, in a single statement. Now let's save the file and let's see what we get. So we should get true or false. Now it's false. Now let's see why. Because it's telling me A greater than B. A is not greater than B. So actually B is greater than A. So what we can do, we're gonna change this 5 to 8. Now we make it true. Let's save the file, and now A is greater than B. So this is true. Now we should get the value true. As you can see here, that's true. So that is a ternary statement that you might come across and you might be confused about it. What the hell is this? Well, the more traditional way is to use ifs and else clause, but you can use this statement as well. So that's it for this presentation, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back with the next part of our JavaScript. And make sure you subscribe to the channel, and if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. You can follow me on Twitter at Awais Mirza01, and please join our Facebook group for programmers. So it's gonna help you a lot. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Cheers. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Awais, and welcome to the 5th part of our JavaScript Essential Training Series. In this video, we are going to learn switch statement. Well, you can use multiple if and else statement, and as in the previous video, I've shown you to perform a multi-way branch. However, this is not always the best solution, especially when all the branches depend on a value of a single variable. So in this video, let's look at the switch statement. We are going to go to our script.js file. Alright, so in this file we are going to write a switch statement. Now let's say you go to a shop to buy a fruit, okay, and we are going to check how much is the fruit. Okay, so what we can do, I'm going to create a variable fruit is equal to, we can say in double quotation, apple. Okay, so we have a variable which has the value of apple. Now we can use the switch statement to check whether how much is the apple, or if you type any other fruit, then it will give you the price of that fruit. So let's type switch, and here we are going to type an expression. So here basically you type on which you want to apply that switch statement. So you type the variable name. Now we got the fruit variable which has the value for it, so we type that fruit, and then we start our code block with the curly braces. And here I'm going to start with the word case, which is a keyword for the switch statement. And then in the case, if I start double quotation, and I would say apple, and then after that I will finish with the colon. So type the colon, press enter, and now the statement you want to execute if the value is apple. So I would say document dot write, and we can say here apple is $2. Okay, and then we are going to break this statement and then add a semicolon. Now we can add a multiple cases in one switch statement, like in if and else. So you could add like if this happened then do this, and otherwise do this. And you could use the else if as well, using if and else. So here we can press enter now, and I'm going to add another case here. So type case, and we can check whether it's banana, and then we add a colon, enter, and let's print out if it's a banana, then write out banana is $4, and then break the statement. And then let's add another fruit, orange, add colon, document dot write, add orange is $3. And then let's break it. At the end you need to type the default. Okay, if none of these things happen, then what would be the statement we want to execute? So you type word default, add a colon, and then we type the statement. So we can say write, and we can say fruit is not available. Let's save the file, and now let me explain to you one more thing. Okay, so we have the variable on the top which has the value of apple. We're starting a switch statement. We typed in an expression which is a variable name, and then we got these 3 cases, actually 4 cases. The fourth one is a default. So the first case says if the value of the fruit is equal to apple, then execute this statement, document.write apple is $2, and then break the switch statement. Now let's save it and let's go and run the code. Let's refresh it, and it's telling me apple is $2. Now if we change this to orange, save the file, let's go back and let's refresh, and now it's telling me orange is $3. So as you can see, compiler going all the way to the switch statement and then checking whether the value is orange, apple, or banana, and according to the value we have, it's printing out the statement we have in that case and get out from that switch statement. Now if we change the value here, which is not available in any case, let's save the file, we got orange, and now if I refresh the page, it should say fruit is not available. So as you can see, we can check the condition using the switch statement, and it's very important when using the one variable. Then it's really good to use you should use the switch statement. Alright, so that's it for this video, and I'll be back with the next video in which we will talk about loops. Alright, so join our Facebook group, subscribe to the channel, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Welcome back everybody, this is Awais, and back with the next video of JavaScript Essential Training Series. In this video I'm going to be talking about loops in JavaScript. So let's go to script.js file. So why we need loops? While writing a program, you may encounter a situation where you need to perform an action over and over again. In such situations, you will need to write loop statements to reduce the number of lines. JavaScript supports a while loop, for loop, do while loop. So we are going to look at the while loop first. Now, let's say you want to write something on a page 10 times. So for that, we can use a while loop. So we can create a variable first, and we can create a variable named count, and we set that to 10 and add a semicolon. Now we can use the while loop to write something on the page. So I'll start a while loop with while keyword and then add a parenthesis, and here we're going to type the expression, the condition, and then we need to add a code block with our curly braces. Press enter. Now let's add our condition first between the parentheses, and I want to say while count is less than 10. Alright, if you notice here, we have the count value 10 already, so this won't run. What we need to do, we need to change the value to 0, and we can say count less than 10. Now this condition is true because the count value is less than 10, it's 0, so we can say document.write, and here we can type hello world and then add a semicolon. Now what we have done here, we have created an infinite loop. So the JavaScript compiler will come to this line and will check the condition, will see that it is true, and then it will go into the code block and write hello world for us, right? And then once it write hello world and go back to the while loop and then check the condition again and see that the count is still less than 10, then it will go and print out hello world. And it's going to keep printing infinitely because the loop never ends, because the count value never reaches to 10 or never goes above 10. So what we can do here, we can add count plus plus, or you could say count is equal to count plus 1. Right, it's a long way to do it, what I've shown you in the previous videos. So we can say plus plus, which will add 1 to the count. So now the compiler comes here and then see condition is true. It will write the hello world on the page and will come down here and it will add 1 to count. And then once you go back here, now the count value is not 0 anymore, it's 1. And then the compiler comes to this line and then write it one more time, come back here, and whatever the previous value we have in a count variable, it will add 1 to it. So that when it goes back to the while loop, it has the value of 2. So that's how we can get out from the infinite loop. Now we are only printing until the count is less than 10. So it starts from a 0, and let's see if it's right 10 or 9 times, and I will explain a few more things here. Now I'm going to save this and let's go to the page. I'm going to refresh the page and we can see hello world written 10 times. Now I'm going to make sure that it's written on a separate line. So what we can do here in this string, I can add BR, which is a break line for HTML, and then we can just close it, save the file. Let's go back and then let's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we got the 10 times on each line. Alright, so this is a while loop. You can make very complicated things using loops. So I mean, in this video I've just shared with you guys the basic idea how loops work and what you can basically achieve with it. So you can achieve statement multiple times with a few lines of code. Now let's look at the do while loop. It's kind of same thing, but it's not often used, but it's still there, so I'll show you. Now I'll type do to start the do while loop, and then add a code block, enter, and we can say do this document dot write, and we can say this is do while loop, and then we can add the new line here as well with the help of HTML thing there. So let's just get out from there, and we can add count plus plus here. So once it executed, it adds the value of count to 1. So it adds one value to count. Now we can type while, and I will add a condition here in the parentheses. We'll say count less than 5. Okay, and then we can finish this by semicolon at the end. Now we can save this file, and I'm going to go back and refresh the page. Now we can see do while loop. This is a do while loop. So basically it's actually what it's doing. When the compiler comes here, it sees the value is 0, so we have this while loop before this do while loop. So in the count we have 0 for the first time, and then goes back all the way, so it keeps adding 1 to the count. So this loop actually does not run 5 times, because when the compiler keeps going in this loop, when it comes out from that loop, the count value is already above 5. So if I type 15 here, and then this loop will run, because after 10 this is going to get stopped, and then it's time for this loop. Let's save the file, let's refresh the page, and now we have this 5. Okay, 5 times. Well, let me explain to you one more time here. You might be confused here. So when the compiler comes here, it adds 1 to the count, and it keeps going until the value is less than 10. And then when it comes here, we have the value of 10 already. So it goes here, it says 10, and then it goes back to do write this, and then add another digit of 1 into count. Then it comes back here, it says that it is now 10 or 11, and then keeps going until it gets to 15. So that is why we get this statement to be printed 5 times, not 15 times. I hope you understood. Now I think it's time for us to learn for loop. Let's just delete everything. Now for loop is the most compact form of looping. It includes a few things such as loop initialization, test statement, iteration statement. So the loop iteration, where we initialize our counter to a starting value. The initialization statement is executed before the loop begins. All right. So we have the test statement, which will test if the given condition is true or not. And if the condition is true, then the code given inside the loop will be executed. And we have the iteration, where you can increase or decrease your counter. Now in the while loop and do while loop, we had to add the condition next to the while, and then we added the iteration like count plus plus inside our code block. But with the for loop, you can add those things in one line. Now let's look at the for loop example. We have the count value 0. I'm going to type for is a keyword to start a loop. Add parentheses, and the first value is loop initialization. So what we're doing here is we're starting a loop with loop initialization. That would be count is equal to 0. Okay, and then we need to type a semicolon. The next is going to be test the condition. So the condition we want to test. So I will test, let's say count is less than 10, and then add a semicolon again. And the third one is our iteration, which is incrementing a count value or decrementing a count value. So we have a count less than 10, which is a condition, and once it loop. Once the compiler comes here, it sees the count value is 0. We actually don't even need this variable count now, because we are creating a variable here by using the var key, and we don't need to define that on the top. We can actually define the var keyword within the loop. Now we have our initialization, we have the test statement, and then we have iteration, which is going to be count plus plus. And then we start our code block here with the curly braces. Now let's write few things. So let's just say document dot write, and in the quotation we type a string. Let's say this is an example of for loop. Let's get out and finish the statement with semicolon. Let's save the file and we'll go back to our page, and I'm going to refresh this, and there you go. So we got this is an example of loop, and it's been printed 10 times. Now we go back and we add a new line here with the help of HTML br, and let's just type this, save the file, and then we'll go back and refresh the page, and now we have this on each line. So this is an example of loop 1 2 3 4 5 6. Now what I can do here, I can actually print out, before this I can print out count, okay, and then I can add plus to concatenate. Plus here we're using to concatenate these two things. We have a string and we have a variable. Now what it's going to do, it's going to add a number of the count, whatever the number we have, before printing out this. So let's save the file, let's go back and let's refresh the page, and now we have 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. So what I can do here, I can add a space here, just give a space here, save the file, refresh, and now we have the space there, 0 2, so we can see then how many times this statement gets printed. So this is the for loop. Now let's look at for in loop. Well, the for in loop is used to loop through an object properties. As we have not discussed the objects yet, but you may not feel comfortable with this loop. But once we understand how object behaves in JavaScript, we will find this loop very useful. I'm only going to show you the syntax for this loop, and once I get to the objects of JavaScript, and then we will discuss this loop in details. Now the syntax for that is very simple. All you have to start a loop with the keyword for, add parentheses, and then here we type the variable name, let's say count, or we can create another variable, let's just say for in, and then space in, and then the object name. So we just simply type object, and then we can add a code block at the end. So this is the syntax for in loop. This is used to, loop through an object properties. We haven't discussed the object yet, so you might feel uncomfortable, but I will get to that later in the course. So yeah, that's it for this looping, and happy looping, and subscribe to the channel. If you have any question, let me know in the comments below, and as always, stay tuned and make sure you join our Facebook group, alright, for the programmers. I drop a link in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Cheers. Welcome back everybody, my name is Awais, and welcome to the next video of JavaScript Essential Training Series. In this video we are going to discuss about functions. Like every programming language, JavaScript has functions as well. So a function is a group of reusable code which can be called anywhere in your program. Well, this eliminates the need of writing the same code again and again. It helps programmers in writing modular codes. Functions allow programmers to divide a big program into small pieces. Like any other advanced programming language, well, Java also supports the feature necessary to write a modular code using function. You must have seen functions like in the previous videos. We used alert, we used a document.write. Well, those were a built-in function in JavaScript. and JavaScript allows us to write our own functions as well. So in this video we will discuss how to write our own function. Now we start our function by the keyword function, so function function, and then after that you need to type the name of the function. So I would just say hello, okay, and then I'm gonna open parentheses. We can pass in parameters in it, but we'll look at that function in a second. I'm gonna leave the parentheses empty, and after the parentheses we need to add a code block. So add a code block, press enter, and that's pretty much it. That is how you create a function in JavaScript. Now let's say we ask this function to print out something for us. So simple way, we use another function which is built into JavaScript library. We say document.write, and here I can say hello, and that's it. I'm going to save the file, and now if I go and refresh the page, you can see nothing's happening here because we have to call this function. Functions by itself is pretty much nothing. We need to call it to make it use. So I'm going to go down. To call the function, you simply type the name of the function with the parentheses and the semicolon at last. So we say hello, and then parentheses and a semicolon, and then let's save the file. Let's go to the browser, refresh it, refresh that. I think I did not save the file. We have a problem in the function because we finished the statement with the colon, so make sure you put the semicolon, not the colon. Now let's save the file, and I'm going to refresh the page, and there you go, we got the hello. Now we can call this function as much as we want. That's the main benefit of writing functions. So I'm going to copy this say hello. Let's copy that, and we paste it like 10 times. Now it's gonna call this function like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Let's save the file and let's refresh, and there we go, we got hello, hello, hello 5 times. Let's learn how to create a function with parameters. So let's just delete this, and we are going to create a new function by typing function, and I will say calc area, okay, and then we add a parentheses, and in the parentheses I want to pass in 2 values in it, width and height. So we separate values with the comma, so comma h, get out from the parentheses and open curly braces, which is a code block. And now here we can use those w and h variables. So now we're going to create another variable. I'm going to name it area is equal to w multiplied by h, and add a semicolon at the end. Now we got the area stored here when we pass in the value to w and h, but we need to print that out as well. So we can say here document.write, and then here I'm going to type area, add a semicolon. Now we got the function there, and now we need to call it. Now once I call the function, let's just say function, we need to call the function by the name. So call area, and then parentheses, we need to pass in width and a height. And I can pass in, let's say 5 is width, comma, and then 5 is the height. Now let's just run the code and let's see what happens. Now we're gonna refresh the page, and there you go, we got the area of 25. So the calculating area is width multiplied by height. That's the equation. Now one more thing I want to show you here. Once I delete this, and let's say I don't pass in the value, so we got the calc area, and then I only pass 5 here, comma, and nothing, okay. And now let's run the code, and as you can see it's NaN. Okay, so let's say we have 1 or 2 parameters, or let's say 5 parameters. If you don't provide the parameters while calling the function, it would automatically put that parameter as undefined. So let's say if we add a comma, let's just add a comma here and pass in the value of 6, and then comma again, and then I'll pass in another value of 7. And now in pretty much most of the program language, it would break your program, but JavaScript is pretty cool. So let's just save it, And now if we run the code, we should get the area 30. And as you can see, we're passing in 7 here. So because we're calling this function and this function doesn't have that parameter, so JavaScript will just ignore that value or make it undefined. So this is really cool that it's not gonna break your program. Alright, so we got the function done. You can create a very complex function. When I will do a project-based tutorials of JavaScript, then we will use this function and we will make them work. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching, and if you have any question, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. What is up everybody, this is Awais back with the next video of JavaScript Essential Training Series. In the last video we looked at the function, but I actually showed you the function, how functions work. In this video I'm going to give you an example how you can make functions for your HTML document. Obviously we're going to use JavaScript for web development, so why not take a look at an example? Because you probably learned JavaScript and you don't have any idea where to use JavaScript. So that's what I had when I was learning a new language. I was always had a problem like, I'm writing a console programs, but they don't represent the actual application. So in this video I'm gonna give you a quick example that how you can use functions and how to use them from HTML document. Now we have this HTML document here. First of all, we are going to create a form. So let's start with the form tag. I'm going to close this form tag right away. Now in the form we need 3 fields and 1 button. So now let's make those. We are actually creating an application which will calculate an area for us. Now let's type width. I'm going to break the line, use the BR. Let's go to enter input type, would say number, and then ID. So ID we call it width again. So I'm just gonna make sure I've got lowercase letters so I don't get confused later on. So width. Yep, that's right. And then we can create a height field, such EIGHT. Let's just use breakpoint, and then let's go to the next line. Start an input tag. Type would be number again, and then ID would be height. And then we need a button. So we just break the line first, and then we go and start our input tag, and I'm going to type button, and then we need to use an HTML event. So there are so many events. You probably look at the documentation. I will show you in a second where I'm getting this from, but there's a event on click, and then we are going to call calc function, and then here we add a parentheses as well. So whenever we click this button, we need to call this function from JavaScript, whatever we attach there. So that's done. Now maybe set the value for the button, the text we will see on the button. So let's just type value, and let's just say get area. So we got a button done. Now we need another. I'm not gonna break a line, I'm gonna just type the answer next to the button. So we need another form field, so let's just start our input tag, and then we can just type would be just say text. It's not a number, so text. ID, let's just say answer, and we can set the size as well. So size, let me just set 8 pixel, and then let's just close this. Let's save the file, and we're going to check that in the browser. So far that's what we have. Okay, so we have width, height should be in the next line. So we need to have here BR. Okay, and then go to the next line. Okay, should be fine now. It's taking back, so let's see. Okay, should be fine. And now we need to bring that down. So let's just break line one more time here, and let's just see. Now it's fine. The font is fine. Width, height. So we can put number here, and then we click on the get area, which is giving us 0 for now because there's no JavaScript function. So our form is ready. Now let's go and create a JavaScript function. Let's go to script.js and we start with the keyword function. func function, and we'll just name it calc, and then add parentheses, add a code block there. So in the function, what we need a height and a width, and then we will multiply those to get an area, right? That's the equation to calculate area. How do we get the width and height from the form field, which is in HTML? So we will just create a new variable, var, and I'm going to name it width, and then just type w for the width is equal to. Now we need to use another function which is built into JavaScript library, which is document.getElementById. Okay, and then add parentheses here, add a quotation, and then now we need to type the ID for over this document. So let's just go back and check what we ID. So it's a width, so I'm going to just copy this from here, and then I'm going to paste it here, and then I'm going to type here value. Okay, I just want to get the value of that. So whatever we type on the form field, we need to access that by getElementById, and dot value means we're getting the value from the form field. Now we need to do the same thing with the height. So let's set var h is equal to document.getElementById, and then we type the height, which is the ID, and let's just type a value. Let's save the file. I'm gonna check this ID is fine, height is fine, and now we just multiply these as well. So we got these two values. Now we can create another variable, area is equal to w multiplied by h. Okay, now we stored the answer in the area variable, right? Now let's go to our page. I'm going to refresh it, and let's just see if we can type 5 and 5 here and click on get area. As you can see, it's nothing happening. We need to set the answer of value onto this one, right? So let's just go to form field. It doesn't look nice there, so I'm gonna make it 6 pixels. And in here, we can just set the area value to that next form field. Let's check the ID, that's answer for this form field. So let's just copy that, and then we're going to type here document.getElementById, and then here I want to type answer, which is an ID, and then dot value is equal to, and we can just set it to area. Let's save the file. Now let's look at it. I'm going to refresh the page. I'm going to click on get area, and there you go. So we are getting two values from two form fields, and we're pressing a button. We're using on-click event, and we're setting the value, the answer, to this form field. So this is a quick example how you can use JavaScript functions. I mean, overall JavaScript is very strong language. Like, you represent things in HTML and you get data from HTML forms. You process them in JavaScript and return the answer to your HTML form. Let me show you the documentation. You're probably very brand new to programming and you have never worked in any other programming, so in any other programming language. So let me show you where these things coming from. Like, I don't remember these things. Whenever I need them, I will just go online and look for them, to be honest. You can't memorize like everything, right? So let's search for something like HTML or maybe JavaScript reference. Okay, so we need to search in Google, and the first one, the best reference is Mozilla Developer Network. So we click on that, and so every time you need anything, you come to Mozilla Developer, this document, and then you can look for a few things, so such as we looked at functions, right? and we have the definitions, arrow functions, and all that stuff. So whatever I'm using, I'm getting from here. Okay, so you make sure that you want to increase your learning by looking at the reference and learning few things, because I've only shown you how to use functions, but you need to search yourself and study yourself to get better with it, to find out more functions about JavaScript or maybe HTML. So let's just say HTML DOM. Okay, we search for HTML DOM, and the first reference guide we get is to W3 Schools, which is another great resource for JavaScript and HTML and CSS. So here we can find like JavaScript objects and JavaScript references, such as I use this dot value method. Where did I get from? I get it from the reference. So you study yourself, get better with JavaScript, and yeah, I'll be showing you a few more tips and tricks, such as creating animations in JavaScript. We will create a full-fledged application in JavaScript by the end of this video series, and like you know, you see all those amazing looking websites, such as a menu popping out, you know, the images moving, all those animations, even JavaScript games. We will learn how to develop all those things in this course, but step by step. So we're still working on a core JavaScript. Once I'm done with the core JavaScript, and then we will start with the project-based tutorials. So stay tuned, guys, and subscribe to the channel. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below, and make sure you join our Facebook group and like my Facebook page. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Cheers. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Awais, and I'm back with the next video of JavaScript Essential Training Series. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to use arrays, how to create arrays, and what is an array in JavaScript. So the array is an object lets you store multiple values in a single variable. It stores a fixed size sequential collection of elements. Array is used to store collections of data, and it is awfully more useful to think an array as a collection of variables. So we are going to create an array. We're going to go to script.js file, and here I'm going to show you how to create. There are a few ways you can create an array. Well, let's look at the simplest way first. To create an array, we start with the keyword var. It's the same as creating a variable. Now I'm going to name my array. I will just say student name is equal to, and if we were creating a single variable, we could just type the name of the student, right? Whether it's a string value or integer or boolean, it does not matter. But we are creating an array. Now how do we tell the compiler that we are creating an array? We tell the compiler by adding these two square brackets and add a semicolon. Now we have successfully created an array, but as we know that we can add multiple values in array according to the index space. So JavaScript index start from 0 as many other C-based languages. So the first value is going to start from 0, and then the second one is on index 1, and then so on. Now let's look at how to populate this array. We type the name of the array, which is student name, and then add a square brackets, and within the square brackets you need to type the index you want to add. So we're going to start from 0 is equal to, and in the quotation I will just type my name, student, and add a semicolon. Now we have added one value into student name array. We can add multiple values, so I will just copy this line and paste it a few times. Alright, and now we need to change the index. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and we can change the values as well. So I'm going to type Tom here. The second value I'm going to type my brother's name, Omer, and then we type something like Aspen, and we can just say Bob. Alright, I'm going to save the file. Now we have successfully created an array. We can access these values from an array according to the index. So how do we do that? The simplest way to do is type document. Well, I'm using the document.write method, which is a built-in method in JavaScript, but you can access this in any method you like. So let's just give you an example. And now I'm going to access an array by typing the name of an array, which is a student name, and add a square bracket, and within a square bracket I'm going to type the index number I want to access. So if I want to access Bob, I will type 4 here. If I want to access Awais, then I type 0. If I want to access Omer, then I type 2. Let's access Bob. I'm going to type 4 and add a semicolon. Let's save the file. Let's save our index.html. I'm going to refresh this page and you will see that our JavaScript is writing Bob, right? Because we are writing by using this document.write method. And I'm going to change the value now. I'm going to change this to 2, save the file and refresh the page, and now we have Omer. So this is how you create an array. This is a very lengthy way, but there is a quicker way. There's a shorthand for creating arrays. You don't have to create a separate line for each index value you want to create. For that, I'm going to get rid of this document and we'll create another array, but I'm going to use the shorthand this time. We start with the var keyword and then the name of an array. So teacher name. I'm using a camel casing here. So the first letter is going to start from the lowercase, and then the next word is going to start from the capital letter. So teacher's name is equal to, and I'm going to add square brackets here, add a semicolon. Now instead of populating this array in the separate lines by using the teacher's name as an array name and the index number and the value after that, I'm going to just type the values and it's going to automatically be sorted out according to the index. So the first value we type would be on index 0, and the second would be on index 1, third would be on index 2, starting from 0. Let's do that. I'm going to add a string value at index 0. So we'll just type computer and get out from the quotation. Now to separate this, we need to add a comma, and then whatever we type here, that would be added as index 1. Now we'll just type, let's say 100, so it costs 100, and add comma again and add a quotation, and we'll just say cost. Okay, and I'm just creating a random values here, and then we can just say true. You can even type true here. Okay, let's save the file, and now we have 4 different kinds of values here. Sorry, 3 different. We have 2 strings, 1 integer, and a boolean value. Now we can access this array the same way we did with that. We're going to use the common method document.write. Well, let me show you the alert one this time. So alert, and then alert with you can just type the teacher name and then the index what we want to access. So I'm gonna access, let's say number 2, add a semicolon, save the file, and now if I refresh the page, I should get that alert with the value of the index. So that was cost. Now if we type this to 3, we should get a true value. Let's run it, we got the true value. So these 2 simple ways to create an array. Now I'm going to show you some arrays created as an object. First we'll look at what is an object. What is object-oriented programming? So JavaScript is an object-oriented programming. A language can be called object-oriented if it has the 4 basic capabilities to developers. Number 1, encapsulation. Second, aggregation, inheritance, and polymorphisms. So objects are composed of attributes. If the attribute contains a function, it is considered to be a method of the object. Otherwise, the attribute is considered a property. Now, how do we create an object? We use the word new. And I'm going to create a new array with a keyword new. Now let's go down here and we start with the keyword var. Now let's just say new array, and then we can say is equal to, and I'm going to type new keyword and then array, and then add parentheses and add a semicolon. For those of you coming from other languages, you might be familiar with the kind of array That's because array is an object. There are special kinds of values that we are going to have a lot of dealing with, and although this format's saying a new array will work fine, but you don't even have to type the word new. I would just simply delete that, and this will do the same thing. You might be wondering, what is the size of an array? How does JavaScript know how big is this array? Well, you can officially create it with a size. In this case, let's type 5, and I'm saying the array should have 5 slots now, 0 to 4. But all the arrays in JavaScript are dynamic. They can be as big as you want. If you want something to exist at point 5, you can do that, and you simply load into position 5. And if you want it to exist at position 100, you can load into a position 100. While there is a theoretical fixed limitation to the size, so you're never gonna run into it. This is another way of creating an array, but my favorite way to create an array is by just simply using this student name and then add a square brackets. Now, because arrays are objects, they have the properties, and the properties means information that we can get about them. So if I write a line of code that creates an array and loads it up with some initial values, as in this case, what I can actually do is use a name of the array, and remember it's case sensitive, and then with the dot sign, and then I can access the length property. Let's do that. So I'll type the name of an array, which is teacher's name, and then dot, and these are all the properties we have. So I'm gonna search for length and then add a parenthesis, and there you go. Now with the help of this dot length method, I'm accessing how many values I have in teacher's name. So we have 4 values, and if we print it out, it will show us that this array got 4 values. You could create our own functions and method to call in front of the arrays. So if I create another function, let's just do that quickly. So I'll just create function and add name, and then we can just simply write code goes here. Okay, we're not gonna write any code inside, but we're just gonna learn how to use it. Now I'm gonna use the teacher's name again, dot, and add name, and then add semicolon. So as you can see, we can add our own functions, which could have a lot of complex functionality, and we can use them on arrays because arrays are an object. I'm gonna go to the reference because you might be thinking where I'm getting these from, the dot length. That's the confusion I have whenever I learned a new language. When I was like learning programming languages, it was a big deal for me. So I'm gonna go and search for, let's say, JavaScript object reference, and let's see what we get. Now I'm gonna find, well, this is W3 Schools. It's a best site, I think, for learning programming for the web development. I'm gonna go all the way down here, object references, and then we have these. So we are working with the arrays so far, so we're gonna click on arrays, and then in the array we have this array method. So the method we used was length. Let me find that. So it should be somewhere here. Whoa, where is it? Okay, it's on the top. So length, it sets or returns the number of elements in an array. I was looking at it here. That's a property. So that's how you can learn more about properties. Always, whatever you're learning, make sure you have the reference guide next to you, so you look up things and learn new things. So we have all of these methods for us to use, such as TrueString. Let me show you the TrueString, which is another common one. So let me just delete everything here. We just work on one array, and then here on index 1, I'm actually going to change this to, let's say, 10, and we can change this to 20. Now we have all these integer values, not a string values anymore. So I'm going to change all of these values, and then we will see how we can use the toString method. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna call the array student name dot toString method, and then that's it. So it's going to convert all of the values we have in that array to strings. Okay, so these have some benefits. Well, you're working on a complex projects, then yeah, we will learn all of these things in actual projects we will be doing in JavaScript in the later course. So that's how you can use methods and properties on the object as well. There are obviously very simple example, whatever I've shown you here. We will actually look some practical ones as we go forward, but the fact that arrays are object just means we can ask them to do things, and very useful things in a lot of cases. And if you're new to programming, you might be tempted to think of that arrays, you're not going to use array that much. Well, let me tell you, arrays are everywhere in JavaScript. You won't be able to get away from them. You may create some yourself, but a lot of them you will be given. So you will have to deal with them. For example, you might at some point want to write a little line of JavaScript code which says, I want to know how many anchor tags in HTML page, how many links do I have, and how many paragraphs do I have. So what we can do for that, I'm going to write a JavaScript. Let's say we are going to create another variable, and let's say links A is equal to, and then I can read the HTML document by writing document dot get element by tag name. You see this method, and then here I'm going to pass in A. Alright, and now what it's doing, it's actually getting all the anchor tags what we have in this page. Well, we don't have any tags right now, but if we did, then it will get all of them and it will store them into an array according to the index. So there's so many things you could do with arrays, and we will look at them in our project-based tutorials. So that's it for this, guys, and make sure you subscribe to the channel and make sure you join our Facebook group for programmers. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Awais, and in this video we are going to be working with numbers in JavaScript. So working with numbers comes easily in JavaScript. We already done this. We created variables that put numbers in them. And like any other language, we have the notion of numeric variables. We have the notion of numeric literals. In this case, just the value 200 written in your code is a numeric literal. But if you are coming from another programming language and you are likely to be thinking, what kind of number is this and what kind of variable is this? Is this an integer? Is this a floating point number? Or what kind of number is it? We don't have to ask those questions in JavaScript because internally all JavaScript numbers are 64-bit floating point numbers. So that's how they are stored under the hood. You don't concern yourself whether it's an integer or a small integer or a large integer and so on. Now let's look at an example. We're going to go to JS file, and here I'm going to create two variables, var, and let's just say num1 is equal to 5 and semicolon. Now this is the integer. Well, JavaScript compiler will automatically detect that that's an integer because we don't have any quotes around it. Now let's create another var, num2 is equal to, let's say, 3. And now what if we write this to the page, document.write, and we can say here num1 plus num2, and then add a semicolon. Now what it's going to do, we will add these three numbers. So we will likely have a value of 8, okay? But what if I create a var, let's say num3 is equal to quotation, double quotes, and type 5 in it, and then var num4 is equal to quotation, let's just type 5 as well. We forgot the semicolon, so make sure it's a semicolon, And now if we write on the page, let's just write it document.write, and let's just say num3 plus num4. Now what it's going to do? Well, basically the compiler will detect them as a string. So the value we will get would be 55. These are not numeric digits. I'm going to save the file and let's look at the HTML file. I'm going to refresh it, and now we have 8 and 55. I think we should make a space here so we could look at it. So we just type br and we need to concatenate it with plus and add that into the quotation, and that should fix it. Let's save it and let's refresh the page. And now for the first we have 8 and then we have 55 because these are not the number digits, right? Now there are a few more scenarios that we have to talk about. So let's say we change one of these num3 to a digit, integer value. And now what do you think what it's gonna do now? It's going to concatenate. It is still going to concatenate, and we're gonna get 55 as an answer, because this is a number and this is a string value and it cannot be added. So it's gonna automatically change this num3 to string and it will concatenate them. Let's save the file and we can refresh it, and we can see that we got the same 55 as the answer. Now there's another scenario where you might be thinking, let's just say I'm gonna change this to an alphabet. Okay, we change this to A. Okay, and now these two numbers are going to get concatenated. This is one string and that is an integer. Let's save it. We're gonna refresh the page and it's gonna get concatenated. But now let's look one more thing. If I'm trying to multiply 5 by this, then what we get? Let's just change this to asterisk and then save the file. And you know what? It's going to give us N-A-N. So uppercase N, lowercase a, and uppercase N. That means it means not a number. Okay, let's save it. Let's run it. And there you go, we got NaN. But JavaScript compiler telling us that this multiplication cannot be applied because one of them is not a number. Now, let's say we want to convert this num4 to a number. What I will do here is I will use a global method. So we create another variable. So I will say convert to number is equal to, and I'm going to use a function named number, N-U-M-B-E-R, okay, which basically converts the object to a number. And now we are going to pass in the variable we want to convert, so num4 and add semicolon here, and now it will convert this num4 string value into a number. Now I'm gonna take you to the JavaScript documentation because I want to make sure that you keep studying the documentation, because that's the only way you can learn. And any language you want to learn, you need to follow the documentation of a particular language. So JavaScript global methods, and let's search for that. And we can go to JavaScript global reference, that's fine. And here we have this a function number, so which converts an object value to a number. And like that, these are very useful methods here, such as string. You can convert the numeric digit to a string, and you can parse the integer, and let's say you pass it a string and which returns an integer. That's where you're going to use parse int, parse float. So float passes a string and returns a float point number. So read these documentation. I would highly recommend if you want to be good, because in the course we cannot really cover everything which is available in JavaScript, but we cover the basic concepts, so you could go and learn the documentation and get better with JavaScript or any other programming language. I've done the full course on Java. That's doing very well. A lot of people are liking that. Now there's few things in this video we look at regarding a math object. Let me show you what is a math object do. So a math object, let's just create another variable. First, let's explain what is a math. So the math object provides you properties and methods for mathematical constants and functions. Unlike other objects, a math is not a constructor. All properties and methods of a math are static and can be called by using math as an object without even creating it. So you don't have to create it with a new keyword. Now let's look at how we use it. Now let's say I'm gonna delete all of these, and let's just say we are going to add this floating point. Let's just say 7. Now we have a variable num3 which has 5.7 value, and now with that I'm going to create another variable num4 is equal to, and then we're going to use math dot round, and then here we pass in num3, and then what it's going to, I'll keep typing this colon but it's a semicolon. Okay, so what it's going to do, it's going to get the value from num3 which is 5.7, and then it's going to store that value to num4, but before it stores to num4 it is going to round it. So the result we will get, I'm just going to move this thing down. I don't want to write another statement, so instead of just making here, we can just print out num4 so you guys could look at it. And now let's save it. We don't need these comments. Let's go back to file, and it's not writing for some reason. I'm actually going to look at, because the variable name is num4 and we typed a double N there. Now let's refresh it, and there you go, we got 6 instead of 5.7. So the round method on this math object is rounding the num3 value. Now I'm going to give you an example of what can you build with a math object. So for that we are going to delete few things here. I'm going to change the value of num4 to value. And let's empty this. And now I'm going to take you to JavaScript documentation. I have this math object documentation open from w3schools.com, and here we have all the methods which is available in a math object. So we have ABS returns an absolute value, and we looking for something like a random. I want to generate some random numbers. Let's say you are building a game of a dice, so you need a dice functionality in your game, no matter what reason, but you need that, right? So how can you build that? Well, the random method returns a random number between 0 and 1. Now let's go back, and I'm going to change this to random. Alright, and then here we change the value. Now let's save the file. I'm going to go to HTML document. Let's refresh it. So every time I refresh, I get a random number here. As you can see, I get the random number. So in dice, we need to have a 6 value. Either you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So to make it as a dice, what we can do, let's go back to the code. Now what I can do here, I can multiply this by 6. Let's save the file, and now let's see what we get. Now we're gonna get 1.6, 1.5, and then 0.2, 5.9. Now we are getting 1, like a numeric digit before the decimal point. So let's find a way to bring that, let's find a way that you want to get rid of these digits. You just want to keep the numeric digit, okay? So we go back to the math object documentation, and here I'm going to find something, a floor, right? So it returns the value of x rounded down to its nearest integer. So let's me tell you, let's say it's a 5.4. Now it's going to get rid of this 5.5 and so on. These are digits. It's going to give us only 4. Now we will use this math object dot floor and add parentheses, and we can add parentheses here as well. Now let's save the file, and then I'm gonna refresh the page, and now I can see I'm getting a numeric digit, not a floating point digit. Okay, now the dice has 1 to 6. Okay, so dice has like from digit 1 to 6. But this math.round gives us from 0 to 1. And sometimes you're going to get 0 because if a value is 0 point something, then it's gonna, this floor method is gonna get you the 0. Okay, so what we can do here, we can actually plus 1 to the final value. So what if I type plus 1 here, and then I'm gonna save this, and let's refresh the page, and this time we're not gonna get 0, but we are going to get a different integer value from 1 to 6. I'm just going to try this to refresh the page a few times. There we go. So we got the 6. So what it's doing, it's going to give us a value from 1 to 5 because we're multiplying it to 6, and then we are returning the lowest and nearest value by the help of this floor method. So let's say we get 0.5 or something, right? Then this method will convert that to 0, and then once we get that 0, then it will be added as 1. So even if we get, let's say, 5 here, then still we will get 6. So we're adding 1 to it to get from 1 to 6. So you got the game going on, and you have like few images in the page. What do you want to do? You want to write this a method in a function and then call that function. So every time the function return, let's say if a function return 2, then you can print out a different image which has 2 dots on a dice, and if it returns 4, then you can print out the image on the page with the 4 dots on it. So that's how you can create a dice game. And we will do a full project of game development in JavaScript once I've finished the code development in JavaScript. So yeah, that's the math object, and yeah, that's it for this video, guys. And I hope I gave you an idea. Just use this method, read these documentation. It's very important to learn any language. Alright, so the next one we are going to learn about strings and booleans. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Awais. Welcome to the next video of JavaScript Essential Training Series. In this video, we are going to cover JavaScript booleans, JavaScript strings, JavaScript date objects. First, let's look at strings in JavaScript. So we work with strings all the time. Let me create a variable, and I'll just say a is equal to, and we pass in something. This is a string. Okay, that's how you create a variable, and we have the string value stored in a, which is a variable. Now we can use the single quotation mark around the string, and that will do the same thing. We can use the double quotation mark, but we cannot use one single quote and one double quote, which will give you an error. So to surround a string value, you need to make sure that if you are using single quotation mark, then use single quotation on the both sides of the string value. Now, let's say you have a string value here, and you want to add this single quotation mark inside our letter, inside the string value, and we just finished this with the single quotation. Now what would you do, right? There's an error because these things is not included in string anymore because we finished with the single quotes after I. So to fix this error, we can use a double quotation, right? We can use double quotation, that will fix this error. But sometimes you have to write a big paragraph or any kind of sentence which has a double quotation inside it, right? Like that. And that's what you get the error, okay? So to fix that error, we have an escape sequence. So if you type this backslash, that will fix that. It will tell the JavaScript compiler that take this as a quotation, double quotation string, but don't close my string with the quotation. So that can fix your error. Now, string basically is an object. It's a series of an array values stored in one variable. Let's say the string object basically lets you work with a series of characters, and it wraps JavaScript string primitive data type with a number of helper methods. We have methods for this string object, and we have the properties as well. One of the common properties you will find in strings is a length property. So I can call this by just a.length. That's the property I can call. Now if I want to see how many characters I have in this string, what I can do here, I can create another variable b is equal to, and we can set a.length. Now we can write this document.write, and I'm going to just write b as a value, save the file, and let's refresh the page, and we can see that we have 18 characters in the string, right? So this is a property of your string variable. Now we have the methods as well. Let me show you a few methods. Now the most common method you will find is jar at. What we can do here is I'm going to change this and I'm going to call jar at method. What it does, it returns a character at the specified index. So let's say we open this with parentheses, and here I'm going to check whether what's the character at index number 2, because string is a series of an array values, right? Let's save the file and let's see what we get. Now we have I. So start from 0, t is a 0, and then h is 1, and I is 2. That's correct. So we have this char at, so we can get the values from string or paragraph, whatever the paragraph you have as a string, and you can get the value or at the specific index. Now we have so many methods available in JavaScript for strings. One of the best one, I would say, that if you are working with online text editor, if you are making an application like text editor, you might need to add a functionality to search the string, search the document. What we can do here, I can add, this is called search, and then here inside 2 I can type a, okay? And then I will save the file. We need to add that as a string, so we just add double quotation here, save the file, and we can refresh it. That will search through the index number of that letter, of that character. So the A is on index 10. Now we have the option to replace as well, so we can type the replace and then pass in the index and then type in the character you want to replace in. I would just show you the documentation for that, JavaScript string methods, and we can go to that page and we can look at all the methods we have available here, such as substring, which basically is similar to slice. The difference is that, so you can read it, it's not very hard. Basic JavaScript is not that hard if you are sure about some basic concept of programming. We've been learning the basic concept of programming in JavaScript, but this is about it for the string. Now we have a date object. So the date object is a data type built into JavaScript language. Date object are created with a new date, as I'll show you. Let's create a new date. So we type var, and I'm going to name it date is equal to new, capital D, create a date, and there you go. So you've got a date. Now what if I just bring this document.write down and we print out the date? Then you could understand. Let's just drop it there, because we cannot drop the document.write upwards and before creating a date, because the compiler will pass that and won't be able to read this. That's why we have to bring it down. Now let's start date, press Control save, and let's delete this documentation. And now I'll refresh the page. So I have Monday, March 06, 2017. We have some properties and we have some methods as well. Now we have created a date. Now let's say I've created a date here. I'm going to delete this document.write, and I will get another variable, and I'll say get day or get month or get year, so whatever you want to get. So is equal to, now we can use a date object, what we just created, dot, and we have all these method we can use. So what we're gonna use is get full year, because we want to get the year, right? So I'm gonna just select that. So we need to add parentheses at the end. Make sure you add that when you're using method, and let's save it. And now instead of just printing a date, now I can specifically get the year, just the year. Let's just type document.write, and then we can just print out get year. Save. Let's refresh the page, and there we go. We are in 2017. Congratulations. It's been already like third month. Time goes very fast. Also, we're getting older. All right, so we can get the date, and now I can show you we can get maybe hours as well. Let's just find out if we have the get hours. Yep, get hours. Let's refresh the page. Now it's the 16th hour of today. We are in. Now dates are really great way to, you know, they're used many times. I mean, I can't explain them right now, but we will use them in a project-based tutorial. So make sure you watch these tutorials and then come back to the channel for the project-based, because we're gonna be building a lot of games and a lot of things in the project-based tutorials. Now we have get time and so many other methods that you can use. If I could show you the documentation. Let's go back to the JavaScript date documentation. Okay, so we have this Mozilla. Mozilla is a really good documentation for JavaScript. Okay, so we have all of these methods. You see this? Get year, set date, set full year, set hours, and get end sets, right? So all of these. So read these methods. Then you can get better. Well, the position I am right now, I can just search for a few things, whatever I need. So I just want to get you guys to understand that no one actually learns full programming. No one in the world understands a whole lot of programming. So we as a developer, if we need something and I know what I want to make, then I will find the way to make that. So that's the way we can read the documentation of a particular technology we are working on, so we could find something which will be helpful to create or to achieve that task. So this is a date object. Try it out. Now we didn't talk about Boolean values as well. We could actually create a Boolean object as well. So let's say bool is equal to new. I can create a Boolean object, and then I can use that object. So bool has some methods as well, a value of, so it's got only one value. It is used as well in programming, well, especially making games. So that's about it. Next video we are going to learn about DOM. DOM is a very interesting topic, so stay tuned for that, guys. Subscribe to the channel. Any question, let me know in the comments below. You can follow me on Twitter at Awais01, and make sure to join our Facebook group. Links are in the description. Thanks for watching again, and see you guys in the next time. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Awais. Welcome to the next video of JavaScript Essential Training Series. In this video, I'll be explaining objects in JavaScript. Well, JavaScript is an object-oriented programming language. A programming language can be called object-oriented if it provides four basic capabilities to developers. The first one, encapsulation, aggregation, inheritance, and polymorphism. Now, encapsulation in JavaScript means the capability to store related information, whether data or methods, together in an object. Aggregation is the capability to store one object inside another object. And we have inheritance. It's a capability of a class to rely upon another class. Polymorphism, the capability to write one function or a method that works in a variety of different ways. Now, objects are composed of attributes, and if an attribute contains a function, it is considered to be a method of an object. Otherwise, the attribute is considered as a property. I'm going to create a generic object, and to give you an example, first of all, let's go back and look at how we create a variable. So we start with the var keyword, and the name of the variable, I would just say name is equal to, and add a quotation, and then I'll just add my name here. Now this is a variable, and then I'll create another variable. I will say age is equal to, let's say 28. Let's add another variable. I'll just say profession is equal to like programmer? Am I a programmer? I think so. So programmer. So let's say I'm making these three regular variables: name, age, profession, and it's just creating those three variables in the memory. I realized that these belongs together. So these are the properties of the same person, okay? So it would be nice if I could enclose them in a larger object. Now I could do this in an array because arrays are an object as well, but I don't want to deal with the zeros, 1 and 2, the index based, right? So the idea here is what I will do, I will write this line. So we start with the keyword var, and I will just name my object person is equal to new, and I will create a generic object and add parentheses and a semicolon. Now we have created a object in the memory now. To populate this object, we can add values like this. So I'm going to type person, which is an object name, dot, and then the type of the variable I want to create. So the difference is when the variables are outside, they are called variables. But when they are inside the object, they are called properties. So we create another property of a person. I'll just say p name is equal to, let's just type whatever the name, I'll type my name again, and person dot ph. I'm using ph because I don't want to mix up with the variables I have outside, so that's why, just to not to get you guys confused. Ph is equal to whatever the age, 100 years old. Now person dot let's just say profession, so is equal to whatever you want to type here. So I'll just say student. And now we have actually added the properties of the person. Person is an object, and we added like 3 properties in that. So property is just a variable that belongs to an object. Now obviously we have the shorthand for creating arrays, so we have a shorthand for creating an object as well. How do we do that? Let's just come down here. I'll create another object, and instead of just adding these properties separately, I'll add on a single line. Now we start with the keyword var, and I will just name our object student is equal to, and now I'm going to start a curly braces. Just pay attention, it's not a parenthesis, not a square bracket, it's a curly brace. Now after the curly brace, you need to type the property name. So the property name, we can just say name, and after finishing the property name, you have to add colon, not a semicolon. So don't get confused with the semicolon, it's a colon. And then you need to type the value of that property, of that object. So the object name is student, we have this property name, and then we type the value. I will type Tom as a name, get out from the quotation, and now we're going to separate a property with the comma. So type comma to go to the next property, and then I'm going to type here, let's say grade, that's another property, add colon to make it a property, and then straight away after that I would just say 70, and then add a comma again to get to the next property of an object. Well, we can just say class maybe here, and then we can type class 5 or 10, whatever it is, and then get out from the curly braces and then add a semicolon. So this is how we create an object for the shorthand. So objects are useful because they have the methods, so we can call methods on our own object as well, which we will learn in the later course. So thanks for watching, subscribe to the channel, and if you have any question, let me know in the comments below, and make sure to join our Facebook group. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Welcome back everybody, this is Awais back with the next video of JavaScript Essential Training Series. So in the last few movies we've been looking at the core functionality of JavaScript, such as functions, arrays, loops, condition statements, and that's the great way to start with JavaScript. But of course, it does not run out by itself. You can't present anything with JavaScript. So our script will be attached to a web page, and it's the web page that comes first. They bring our script with them, not the other way around. So our page, whether a simple page or it's a complicated website, whether it's a canvas that we are printing on, or the environment we are affecting. So we must be able to reach from JavaScript into these pages and cause them pages to reach back into our script. We do that by understanding the DOM, the Document Object Model, and consider knowing your way around the DOM to be a single most important skill for JavaScript programmer to develop. But this is a term where people get confused about it. I had a few questions before when I was learning DOM. I was always asked that, what is a DOM? Is it a language? Is this the part of JavaScript? What is it? Then you look it up on Google and you find the phrase, the Document Object Model is an application programming interface that defines logical structure of well-performed and XML and HTML document. And it really doesn't help most people, but it's quite a simple idea at heart. Now, every web page resides inside a browser window, which can be considered as an object. A document object represents the HTML document that is displayed in that window. And the document has various properties that refers to other objects which allow access to and modification of that document content. We have this simple page here. I'm just going to show you the preview of that. So this is the page. I have this h1 tag, I have a navigation tag, paragraph tag, and testing DOM. Now, how do we access these objects in JavaScript? Now, how do we write JavaScript to grab hold one of those objects? So it's really depend. The question you have to ask is it unique? The thing you're after, is it unique in the document? I mean, that means, does it have an ID? So if you could look at here, we have the ID for nav element, right? So let's say an on-order list. I need to ask a question, does it have an ID in HTML document? So we don't have any ID here. So you know that you can add the ID and class attributes to any of your HTML elements. But that class can be added to multiple elements, but an ID should be applied to one. It should be unique. So if the element that you're after has a unique ID, you can grab it in JavaScript by using the possible most important method of document object, which is document.getElementById. Now let's add few IDs to our some elements. So we have this paragraph tag. I'm going to add an ID for that. So let's just say paragraph. We need to make it smaller so we can access this. So P1, okay. And testing DOM, I'm going to give it ID of, let's just say article. Let's save the file. Now we can access them by ID. Let's go to script.js. And here it's the most common method you will use by using JavaScript with HTML. So you will use document.getElementById. If you notice, we have few more methods here, such as get elements by class name, get elements by name, get elements by tag name. And here we have elements because class can be applied to multiple elements, right? So we can access by tag names as well. So there could be multiple anchor tags. There could be multiple p tag into your HTML document. So that is why we have get elements, not element. Now I'm going to show you first get element by ID and then press enter. Now we open the parentheses, add a quotation. Now we type the element ID. Make sure it's case sensitive. So we go back here, and if I want to grab this paragraph, so I will just copy this P1 and then we'll just type that into our JS file and then add a semicolon. What does this do? Well, we're going to call it, but not like this. We're going to create a variable and set it to the result of calling that. So if I want to grab hold of this p tag, I would just create a variable. Let's just do it. Type var, and we can name our variables. Let's say p1 1, you can name the same as your ID, doesn't really matter. And there we go. So we have created a variable and stored that element into this variable. And what we're doing here is creating a new variable, and it's really a handle to that place in a DOM. We can then use that variable. In this case, I have called it P1 to read properties of that element. You can call methods of elements, you can even change that element. Now it's important to understand that when I do this get element by ID, I'm not just making it a detached copy of a single piece. Now I have a handle right into the document, and I can use it to go down to the child nodes. I can use it to go up to the parent node, and it's not a detached copy of one element. It's more likely the pathway into the particular place in the DOM. Now let's look at the second method we just looked before, get elements by tag name. Now let's go back to index.html. And here you can see we have multiple tags here, such as li list item. We have 3 tags in here. We have a p tag twice here, right? Now once we call get elements by ID, then what it does basically, it just creates an array and it puts the values 0 based. Okay, so index would be a 0 based. Let's create that first and then we'll look at that. So we create another variable, and I'll just say navigation is equal to document.get element by tag name. And then we open parentheses, and here we just pass in li. And now let's save the file. Now what it's doing, it's accessing li, all the elements, how many elements you have in li, it's accessing that. Now after it accesses that, it will create an array of those elements. The first element he gets, it will put that as 0 index, and the second one would be 1 index, third, second index. So it creates an array. Now sometimes you might find, let's say we create another var, and I'll just say, well, test is equal to document dot, let's just say let's get element by tag name. And let's say we don't have any tag which we're calling in our document. Let's say I have pretty much the most common tags here, but what we do, we will just delete these p tags from here, and then I'm pretty sure we don't have any p tag in our document. Now if I call a p tag, now what it's going to do, because we don't have any p tag in our document, it would still create an array, but the array would be empty. Now let's look at the HTML page. I have added few IDs here, such as a main container, p1 ID for p tag, and we have some list items. Now we have seen how to access these by ID or by tag. Let me give you an example. So we go back to script.js. I've already deleted everything. Now first let's access that p1 tag, which is the ID, and we can access that paragraph tag. So let's type var, which is a variable keyword, and let's just name our variable p1 is equal to, I'm going to type document.get element by ID, add parentheses, add double quotation here, type the p1, which is an ID for tag. Now we have accessed that, and we have stored that p1 into p1 variable in JavaScript. Now I want to check a few things. So we'll check what is the type of this element, and how many, what is the inner HTML, and does it have any child nodes. So we can check them by typing console. Well, console is just a method where we can write something on a console. We've been writing a document.write, but I'll show you the console method as well. So console.log, and then here I'll just type in, this is just a string. So this is the, what is it? Okay, let's just type what is the type of this element, and then here add comma, and then type p1, which is our variable, dot, I will type node type. Okay, that's another method. We can call that, and then I'm going to close parentheses, add a semicolon. Now we can access the inner HTML. So we go back to index.html. See, this is the inner HTML we have in this tag, which says, hello, this is a paragraph. So we can access that as well. I can write that on a page, or I can write that on the console. So let's look at the console one first. So console, I'm not used to with JavaScript a lot, so that's why I mainly work in Java, so I'll keep typing those keywords and all that stuff. So let's type console.log, and I'll say this is the inner HTML. And then we can type comma here and call the variable name p1 dot inner HTML. And then we can check if it has any child nodes. So we can call console dot log, and then here type does it have any child nodes. Okay, comma, call the variable name p1 dot type child nodes. Okay, and then I'll save the file. Let's go back to this page, and I'm going to refresh this, and here you can see that what is the type of the element 1. What is the inner HTML? We're getting hello, this is a paragraph. Does it have a child node? Yes, it's giving me the child node list. It has text which says hello, this is a paragraph. So this has the text as a child node in it. We can access that as well. Now we can access whatever we want by the tag name as well. So we have some list items here. Okay, we have these list items, and I'm going to show you how to access them. So let's go back to JavaScript file, and then let's type, and then I'm going to type list items is equal to document dot get element by tag and by name, by tag name, and then here we pass in li, which is a list item, and then we can check how many list items we have in the document. So we can just write that on a console. If you want to write on a page, you can just document.write, but I'll just write on a console dot log, and then here type we have, I'm going to add a quote here and then give a space, get out from the double quotes, type comma, and I call a list item, and then I can get dot length method on it. Let's type comma again, and we can say we have that many lists, and we just type items here as well, items. Okay, let's save the file and let's go refresh the page. Now we can see that we have 3 items, 3 list items in it. Let's to make sure. So read from the top, we don't have any list item. Yep, we only have 3 list items. Now there's one more thing I want to show you here is if I go back to JavaScript file, first let's create an ID for that. So we have a nav element, okay, and then in the nav element I have this on order list, and then we have this list item. Now if we say that how many p tags we have, maybe we have like multiple p tags, like tens and thousands of tags there, right? But sometimes you want to access only the element which exists in particular element. So let's say we will just type a p tag here, and I'll say hello world, close it, and now we only have a p tag in this one. But what if I go back to JS file and we'll change this to p tag, let's save it, and now if I refresh the page, give me 1 tag. Okay, it's giving me, we have only 1 p tag. Now what I can do here, because 1 p tag means it creates an array, so the index, the array starts from 0, right? So at least it's telling me that we have 2 p tags. Now what if I create another, let me change that to li first to give you an example. We have this list items. Now let's say we have an anchor tag here. Let me just change this to copy this, and then we can paste it here. And then here I'm going to add another anchor tag as well. Let's just delete this. Let's add anchor tag. We type href and I'll just say index.html. Okay, close it, and then close your anchor tag just before the p tag. Okay, let's save the file. Now we have like 4 anchor tags. But now if I go back to JS file and I will create another variable, and I'll say a tag is equal to, and then I'm going to call from list items, okay, and then get element by tag name, and then here we type a as a tag name. Now you can see we have 2 tag names, but now if I call this a tag and store the list item, so what it will do, it will not read the whole page. It will actually read only the list item. So it will only read the list item and will give us 3 as anchor tag. It will not give us this anchor tag as well, because we're only accessing from the list item. So a tag is equal to list item dot get element. So I'm getting the a tag elements from list items. Alright, so it's gonna only read from the list item. So whatever a tags will be available in the list item, that's what I'm gonna get into. That's what I'm gonna get. So that was a demonstration of how to access HTML elements with JavaScript. So in the next video, we are going to learn how to change these elements through JavaScript. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers. Welcome back everybody, my name is Awais, and welcome to the next video of JavaScript Essential Training Series. Alright, so in the last video we've seen how we can get element from HTML through JavaScript by using this get element by ID, get element by tag name, and get element by names. Okay, so in this video we are going to learn how to create elements, how to change element. So right now I'm going to give you a quick example first. So we go back to index.html, and let's say I have this element here, p tag, right? We have id is equal to p1. Hello, this is a paragraph. What if I want to change this by JavaScript? So what we can do here, we go back to script.js, and here I have the variable where I stored this p1 id, and we got that handle through this this element of index.html page by using get element by id. Now we are going to change that. So what I can do, it's very simple. I can use p1 and I can call a method on it, inner HTML is equal to, and then we can set a new value here. So I would just say I changed the text by using JavaScript, and let's save the file. And now I'm gonna take you here, and here we're going to refresh the page, and you will see that this will change. Now refresh the page, and as you can see that it's telling me I changed the text by using JavaScript. And now if I just comment this out by typing / here, let's save the file and let's refresh the page, and as you can see here, we can see how this is a paragraph which is an original text written in HTML p tag. That's the one. But with the help of this p1.inner HTML, we can change that value. Now we learned how to change the text into the p tag by using the ID and then using .inner HTML method. Now I'm going to show you how to create elements using JavaScript. Well, we can create an element. I'm going to create a new variable, and then let's just say create p tag is equal to document.create element. Use that, and now we're going to type in the parentheses and double quotation, what kind of element we want to create. So let's say I'm going to create another p tag, and then let's just finish that by adding a semicolon. I'm going to save the file. Now we created an element, but we need to add a data to it. We need to add a text to it, which is a p tag. Right now it's empty. So what I can do, I can use this create p tag variable dot. I'm going to type inner HTML is equal to, and let's just say I just created a new p tag with JavaScript. Okay, so we have created a new p tag. We added this text to it. Now, how do we add that to page, or how do we add this to a particular div, or let's say where we want to add this? Let's say if you want to add this to nav, and then you are on list and list item, and you want to add a p tag somewhere here. I'm actually going to delete this one. Or you want to add this to something like in a div which has the ID of main container. Let's look at how we add that into a div, which would be the same method to add that to any other element. Now here I'm going to add a space, and then I'm going to use this document dot get element. First of all, we need to get that element where we want to add. So I'm gonna get that element by ID, and then that would be our main container, which says main container. I'm going to select it here, and let's just paste it here in case I misspell this. Now after this parentheses, I'm going to type dot, a decimal point, and then we have another method, append child. So add parentheses, and here we can call that variable where we created a new p tag and store that into create p tag here. Okay, I'm going to call this a variable create p tag. Let's save the file, and I'm going to refresh the page. And let's just refresh the page, and down here you can see I just created a new p tag with JavaScript. Let's close this console, and then I'm going to go back and let's just say updated. Save it. So we're sure that we created a new one. So we actually created a new one. So I just created a new p tag with JavaScript updated. So I use basically two things here. I created a new variable, and then I created a new element by using document.createElement method, and then we use the p tag here, and then create p tag.innerHTML. I use this method to add text to it, and then we actually append that to our main container. Now we have this create element, but if you want to be specific, such as if you want to be specific to create another text element, so what you can do, I'm going to create text element is equal to document.create text node. So that's how you can be more specific. So I can just type here, this is another text node, and then instead of just using a p tag and then adding this create p tag dot inner HTML and adding this paragraph to it, I can simply use create element, create, this is a variable, and then document.create text node, and then add this to it. Now I'm going to add this to our main container. So let's just type document.get element by ID, and then here let's just type main container, and then dot append child, and then we can say create text element variable. Save the file. Let's go back and refresh, and let's see if we have that. Yep, we got that there. So you want to be specific, then you can use this. Well, I had so many questions that whenever I watch a tutorial or I learn a new language, I would always ask a question that how come this person know to use this? Well, I've been saying this to any of my tutorial, whether it's a Java tutorial or it's a JavaScript tutorial. I know a few other languages as well, but anything you want to find out in the language, you need to go to the documentation. You need to go to the documentation of whether it's JavaScript. So let's just say DOM HTML, and then we search for the reference. So one of them is JavaScript HTML DOM W3 School, and here if we go down here, we can see this document, DOM document, and then here we can find out, we can get the element by ID, by tag name, by class name, and then we can change the element by element.inner.html. We can set the attributes, and we have this, as you can see, I've just used that create element, which creates a HTML element. It can remove the child as well. It can append the child. You see these methods, replace child, write text. Okay, so all of these we just used before, and these are all the methods that you can, properties basically, you can use them from HTML. So I'll just show you the DOM HTML documentation as well. So no one remembered these things. So remember, if you want to be better with any programming language, you always go back to the documentation. I mean, obviously, to create something, you need to watch tutorials. You need to have someone to show you how to do stuff by using a logic or creating something. You need to know, but for the basic stuff, you need to find the documentation of a particular language. Here I'm going to show you the text node I just created. I probably have to search for Google. I actually did before I was creating this tutorial. So in this video we'll learn how to create a new element. I mean, it's not just P, you can just type a element here, anchor tag, you can do that, and you can type inner element and then type the text, and this will just create a anchor tag as well. So you can create a list item here as well. It's all those HTML tags that you can use here. If you don't know about HTML, then I think you shouldn't be watching this video, or you shouldn't be watching JavaScript, because JavaScript is the third language you should be learning after HTML and CSS3. So I'm pretty sure whoever watching these tutorials know HTML and CSS, so I don't have to explain why I'm writing LI here. So this is it, to search in the documentation, and we're gonna work on the forms from the next video. Chase. And yes, make sure you subscribe to our channel, and please join our Facebook group. Alright, thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Welcome back everybody, this is Awais back with the next video of JavaScript Essential Training Series. In this video we are going to talk about timers in JavaScript. Timers are a great way to animate your object, and let's say if you want to give a gap of like 10 seconds or 5 seconds between you want that page to load and the function to fire up. So let me give you a demo here first. So let's say we create a function, and I'm going to name my function timer 5 seconds. And then in the function we use the simple method, let's say just the alert box, and then here I'm gonna say this is the 5-second timer. I'm gonna save the file. Let's go back to the page. If I refresh that, as you can see that the function did not fire up because we haven't called that function yet. Now you can call the function by just typing the name, add parentheses and a semicolon, but now I'm going to use a timer for that. So I'm going to type set, and then here is a function timeout, and then all you need is the set out time, the function you want to call, and the timeout number. So the timers goes in milliseconds. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to type the name of the function and then separate it with comma, and then as you can see on the top, Real Studio Code is telling us that now timeout a number, so it goes in a millisecond. So if I want it to pop up after 2 seconds, so I'll just type 2000 and then save the file, add semicolon, save the file. Let's go back here, and I want to refresh the page, and I want to wait for 2 seconds, and let's see if it pop up. There we go. So we said 5 seconds, but it pop up after 2 seconds because we set the 2000 here. Let's just do the 5 second, and then I'm going to just click now. So you guys see that 5 seconds. There we go. After 5 seconds, it popped up. So time is a great way to create an animation. This is a great way. And now we're going to look at another example, a little bit of advanced example. Now we are going to write a function to scroll through the images. Now I have a few images here, this one, and this one, right? What if we want to scroll through and set a timer, and then JavaScript application which should automatically replace these images by the time? Now, how we do that? Now I'm going to create an HTML div element. So let's just create a div element. We give ID of image, and then inside that div we are going to add an image. So we add image tag, and then src source would be images slash, and then we set that to number 4 image, okay, .jpg. Okay, now let's save the file. Let's refresh the page, and then as you can see we have these images here now. Now I've given the tag image as an ID for that. So what I'm gonna do here now, actually we don't even have to give the ID to this image. I can give ID here, ID image. Okay, it must be unique, so we delete this here now. Save the file, and now we are going back to our JS file, and here I'm going to delete this function. So first of all, we need to get a handle for this container, which is our image. So we can get that by using var, and I'll say my image is equal to document dot get element by ID, and here we type image, and I'm pretty sure that I spelled it right. Image, image, that's right. So we go back to JS file. Now we got the handle, we got the control over that element. Now we need to have some kind of variable which has the index of those images, such as true for like PNG. So what I'm going to do here, we create another variable, and we create this in array. So we just name it array image is equal to, and then add an array by adding a square brackets, and here we're going to add quotation first, and then the part of those images, so images, which is the folder name here, right? So not to get you guys confused, the images is the folder name, slash, and the name of the image, let's say true.png. Oops, it's jpg. Yep, it's png actually. So add a comma to separate another index, and then here add a quotation again, and I will just type images slash 4.jpg, and add a comma again, and then the last image we have here is like. We need to type the images part, so like.png, that's the PNG as well. Now we have an array of this images. Okay, so we have these 3 images in the array. Now we are going to use the index as well, so we can just create another variable here, and I'll just say image, whatever name you want to give, so we set that to 0 for now. And then down here we are going to write a function which will help us to rotate or change that image after 2 or 3 seconds. So let's write that function. So I'm going to start with the function keyword, and then we go say change image is fine, and then add a code block here, and then we are going to access this image first. So this is the image we accessing from our HTML document, which has the image there. So we can access that first. So I'm going to type my image.set attribute. I'm going to set an attribute first. So in the parentheses, I'm going to type the first attribute name. So what we want to change, let's say. So what if we change just the source? what if we change the source after 3 seconds? Then it would be able to change, right? So let's type src, and then in the next one, like add a comma, and then we need to add a value of that. So once we change the source, what would be the value? Now for the value, we have created an array image, and then we have the index as well. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to type array, let's give a space, array image, and then because it's an array, then we can type in what index. So array start from 0, so we just type image index, so it has the numeric digits of 0. Why we did that? Because we need to increment this. We could have just 1 here or 0 here, but that wouldn't work because we need to make it dynamic. Now we got that. Let's go down. Now after changing the source, we need to increment this, because once the compiler is going to come here, it's going to change the source and it's going to go to the value, which is going to be image array. This is the array, and then it's going to see what's the index number now. So it was 0 before, and now the second time when it comes down, it would be 1, like here. Okay, so once it's 1, then how do we do that? We need to image index plus plus. Every time compiler comes down, I want to add 1 to it. And then I'll actually have 3 images. So what we can do here to make sure that our code works, we can type if image index is greater than equal to, let's say, we can type here 2, because we have 3 images here, 0 on 0 index, 1 index, and 2 index, but that would be static. We want to make it dynamic, so we can use another method, which would be array image dot length. Okay, so it will automatically check what's the length of the array. Now we got that, and then let's go down into the if code block, and then we say if that it's greater than equal to array image dot length, which would be 2, then what I want to do, I want to set that index value to 0 again. So let's have image index is equal to 0 again. Let's save everything, and now we need to call this function, right? We need to call this function. So we can set interval time. So before we use the set timeout, this time I'm going to use another function, which is set interval. And then the same thing, we need to type the function name and then the number and the value of those seconds. So what is the function name? Which is change image, comma, and the value, if you want to change this to every 3 seconds automatically, we type 3000. Remember, it's the milliseconds. Now let's add a semicolon. And we've done our code here. Let's go and have a look. We need to refresh the page. And the first time I get this subscribe image, oops, it changed automatically. And now if I leave the page, it's changing. Oops, the like image is too big. We need to apply the CSS. So as you can see that every 2 seconds when this interval fires up, every 3 seconds actually, because it's 3000 here. So every 3 seconds when this line call this function, we have the different index value, because we're incrementing it, and if the image length goes back to length, then it will go back to 0 again. To change those images randomly, we could add the round or random method on this, what I've shown you in the last video. So I'm pretty sure you would be able to use those methods and make dynamic things with JavaScript now. But we're getting into it. We're going to be working on the form soon, and then I'm going to show you how to debug JavaScript. And there's so many things coming up, like animations in Java, creating menus in Java dynamically. So stay tuned for that, guys. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, and then make sure you join our Facebook group. I'll drop a link in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers. What's going on, everybody? This is Awais, back with the next video of JavaScript Essential Training Series. So far we have looked at the basics of JavaScript, such as loops, functions, arrays, condition statements, and what's next? The next thing you need to learn is one of the JavaScript library. In this video, I'm going to introduce to you guys about JavaScript libraries, what are those JavaScript libraries, why should we use them, and where we can find them. Now, first, let's talk about why we need JavaScript libraries. Obviously, JavaScript is a small language. We really have covered most of it already in this tutorial series, but unlike other technologies like Java, .NET, or C++, it doesn't have dozens of built-in libraries with thousands of objects for us to use. So we are now at the point where we need to start thinking about writing a bunch of code, but the things you want to do with JavaScript are probably not all that different from what other people have wanted to do with JavaScript over the years. And the great thing about JavaScript is this, that some of those people already wrote a bunch of code for you to use. JavaScript library simply means a bunch of JavaScript somebody else wrote for you to use. And we are going to look at a few of the libraries in this video. So let me introduce you a few of the libraries that I use and I think they're great. So the most general purpose libraries are Google Closure Library. Basically, Closure Library is a broad, well-tested, modular, and cross-browser JavaScript libraries. We're not going to cover what these libraries do in this video, but I'm just going to introduce to you guys these are the libraries that you can study, and I'll probably do the separate videos about each of these libraries. Now we have the Yahoo YUI library, which is used to develop JavaScript, CSS, web applications as well. And I'll probably do a tutorial on this, how to use this library and what can you build with these libraries. But the most common library, and which is essential for you to get a job as a JavaScript developer or a front-end web developer, is this jQuery. Let me go to the home page. I actually downloaded that before, so I'm just gonna close this. Now, they have wrote lots of function that helps with navigation through DOM, and they include code for cross-browser detection. So it's easier to work with events without worrying about which versions of Internet Explorer you have, or which versions of Chrome you have, or which version of Mozilla Firefox you have. Now, to use any of this library, you simply download the JS file. We'll go back to Visual Studio Code, and here in the HTML document, I have linked that JS file here, the script.js. So to use the library, you will do the same thing. You will copy and paste that file into a script folder, or you will just create a new folder with jQuery and put that file in that folder and just link that the same way we linked this script.js file. Go and use one of these, so I'm just going to go to Explorer, and we downloaded that jQuery file. I'm going to copy this, and we go back to Visual Studio Code, and I'm going to paste it here. And I think I don't have the paste option for some reason, but I'm going to just copy this one more time, and let's try this time if I can find. Nope, I can't paste. No, I can't paste that, so I have to manually copy this and put this into the folder. So I'm just gonna go to, where is it, front end training project 1. This is a script folder. I'm going to paste it here, and then we just go back to Visual Studio Code, and then there you go, we have this file there. Now to link that file, we just simply script type, well, technically you don't have to type, you don't have to basically write this type, but I'll just do it. JavaScript, and then src, and then scripts slash, and this is the file we want to use, .js, and close this script tag. Okay, so that's pretty much you have to do. Now I can use all the functions available in jQuery. So the best part is you need to study the documentation. Obviously, I will do the separate course for jQuery. It's a huge library. Let's go check out this jQuery file first. And if you can see here, I have this file, and it's like, let me go all the way down. So it has about 1,221 lines. I mean, technically you are not getting what you couldn't have write yourself. but it might have taken you months to write all this stuff. Now, on the other hand, some JavaScript libraries are specialized rather than to be just a general purpose, like Lightbox or simply JavaScript library for popping up the image on your web pages. We'll go and search for that. I'll show you that, this Lightbox, and we should see, I'll just say Lightbox JavaScript, and we search for that, and that's the library. Yep. And it is used to pop up the image, such as if I click on this image, you probably have seen this kind of functionality in your website, and most of the time they're using this Lightbox, but it doesn't really matter because there's thousands of libraries do the same thing, and you could even write this code by yourself using JavaScript. But it's a good idea to use the code what already been written for you, instead of just spending the months and months of time to write your own library or your own code, which might not be good as these general purpose libraries because they're so popular. Most of these libraries are open source and they are free, and there is no licensing, so you simply grab the code and use it and do whatever you want to do with it. So I encourage you to explore what's available, and new ones are coming all the time. Search on Google for JavaScript libraries. One more thing I want to explain to you guys is, now if you go back a few years, and there was a lot of competition between the different libraries, but a clear winner we have is jQuery. jQuery is a general purpose library, and we're going to talk about this in one of the other videos shortly. I'll create that video. Now, occasionally some people ask that if you should avoid these libraries and whether real JavaScript programs, oh, I'm a real JavaScript program, I don't need someone else's code, I can write my own code. Well, you can, but if you ask me, then the answer is absolutely not. Knowing JavaScript libraries, particularly jQuery, is the core skill of JavaScript developer these days. And if you go to Seek or anywhere in the world on the website where you apply jobs, most of the time you will find jQuery is written as a job description. So you need to know one of these libraries to actually be able to apply for a job, or actually to be considered to be hired. So this is not just a library written by someone, but these are the core functionality and core things to get a job in front-end development in JavaScript. And not just the front-end development, there's so many applications, and even some of the desktop applications are made in JavaScript, such as brackets made by Adobe. And I had that here in my Mac, but I'm not going to show you. You probably know about this. That's completely written in JavaScript. It's a text editor for developing website and written in JavaScript. So these libraries are pretty great. You can just grab them and use them and make your life easier. I will do a separate course on jQuery, particularly because that's the most popular one, and this is great. It makes your life a lot easier. So that's it. That was the introduction of libraries in JavaScript, and I hope you liked the video. Subscribe to the channel if you did, and if you find this information useful, share it with your friends, and please subscribe to our Facebook, not actually subscribe, but join our Facebook programmers group. I'll drop a link in the description. Alright, so thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Cheers.
Hi guys, this is Umair, and today I'm going to start a tutorial on JavaScript. In this tutorial I will show you how to implement autocomplete functionality. So you can see on my screen I have two text boxes. First one for showing the list of computer languages, and second text box for showing the list of computer science degrees. Okay, so as you can see, as I hover my cursor on it, it shows the list of computer languages, and second one shows the degrees. The one of the interesting thing in here that both the text boxes are using the same functions for populating these values based on the parameter that we sent to that function. If you are on a project that contains so many drop down lists, it's always a good practice to write a generic function for populating different values on different drop down lists, rather than implementing and writing different code for each of drop down item. Okay, so let's do it. The IDE that I'm using is WebStorm, but you can use others as well, like Sublime Text or Notepad++. This one I'm using because I like it. So you can see that I have created a default project that is Angular tutorials. Okay, so that you can create from new project and empty project. Okay, so first we need to implement the user interface, this labels and text box and some CSS for it. Okay, so let's do it. I will go and create a new HTML file with the name index, and then I will, under this, I will add some HTML. Okay, first I will add a div tag with the ID of container. Okay, inside this tag I need to add two more elements for data list and the input type text. So first I need to add a label, languages, BR, and then the data list tag. Okay, so languages, data list, and then input type text, and list is the language, and name has to be the same as this. Okay, now I need to add two break points. You can see that this list item contains the value that is referring to the ID of this data list tag. So its ID and its value should be same. Okay, now for the degree, let's copy and paste it and change its label from computer languages to degree, change its as well from degree. Okay, so this one and this one. Alright, so we are done with the HTML. Now we need to write some CSS for bringing it to the center. Okay, so style sheet. Inside here I need to write some thing like font size for the whole document should be large. Okay, and then I will select the container. I will set its padding to 50 pixels, width to 200 pixels, margin auto, and margin top should be, let's say it's 50. Okay, so now for the input tag, I need to add a border to it. So input border 2 pixels solid, and its color should be dark gray. Okay, and now we need to add a reference or link to this style sheet. So for that we need to come to the head tag and add a link to this file, rel style sheet. Okay, type text CSS, and href should be style sheet. Okay, so I think we are done with the user interface. Let's see if we are having this interface. So we have that interface that we were intended to make. So now let's write our actual JavaScript code. For that we first need to add a model for it that will contain the values or data for showing it onto this data list or the input drop down text box. Okay, so I will create a new JavaScript file with the name language. Okay, in here I will add a constructor function language and list equals to this. Okay, I will add some values inside it. Okay, you can write anything you like. So JavaScript, C, C++, C Sharp, okay, Angular. So I think these are enough for showing it on the drop down list. So we are done with our model. Okay, language. Now come here and add a reference to that file. Okay, script source, and that has to be the language, and I have to add the type for it, that is the text JavaScript. Okay, so we have added the link to our style sheet and the reference to our language. Alright, now we need to add some code in order to detect if our cursor is over this input tag or not. Okay, so to do that we can also do it with JavaScript, but using it with the jQuery is more preferred way of doing this. So first we need to add a reference to a jQuery file. You can also download jQuery file and add a reference to it, but I'm going to add a reference to an online CDN script. Okay, you can just write it as it is. Alright, now in order to write the jQuery code, we need to add a script tag inside the body tag. It is always recommended that you write the script code under this body tag. Okay, and I have added the script references over here in the head tag. It is also recommended that you just bring those references in here above this file. Okay, so under this script I need to first detect if my DOM has been loaded, because if I just go ahead and write some code for detecting this input element by hovering my cursor on it, and if it is not being loaded at that time, then it will generate an error. So first inside this script tag, with the help of jQuery, I need to detect if all the elements of HTML have been loaded or not. So for that I need to write document.ready function. Okay, it will detect if these elements have been fully loaded for using or not. Okay, now the document has been loaded. Under it we need to detect an event, that if the cursor is on this input text box or not. So for that I will add a selector for input, and I will check the event mouse over event. Okay, now we have written the code for detecting the mouse over event onto this tag, both the tag. Okay, now we need to detect that which one we used, that we will send onto the function, onto the generic function for generating the data for a specific input element. So for that, in order to detect that on which element we hovered our cursor. Okay, so first I will add a variable, and then I will use the this keyword. It will detect if we hover cursor on this input, it will get all the data from this input. Its name will be degree and this will be degree. Alright, if we hover our cursor on this input tag, it will detect that this input was selected. Okay, so in order to select the value of this attribute, we need to use the attribute and then name. Okay, now we need to write some code, JavaScript code, in order to pop up or show the values inside these two tags. I haven't written the code right now, but let's say it would be the populate function that will receive the value of this attribute. Okay, So I think we are done with this file. Now let's go and write some JavaScript code for populating these values on these things. Right now we have just added the language model. Later on we will add the degree model as well, and first we will need to check if this input works or not. Okay, so let's go and make a new file, JavaScript file with the name script. Before writing anything inside it, let's add a reference to it above this script, jQuery script code. Okay, so script type JavaScript, alright, and source would be the script tag. Okay, so make sure you add a reference of this script before this code, because this code will contain the populate function. If we add this code after this script, then it will not find this populate function. Okay, so now let's go and write some script code. Okay, so first I need to add a function that will receive parameter. Okay, first I need to detect this data item. Okay, so for that I can use the JavaScript document.get element by ID, and that will be the source string. Okay, after that I need to construct an object for this model. Okay, but this is a string. We can't directly construct an object for this constructor function. We first need to convert this string into an object form. So for that we will use a built-in function eval, and it will receive a string, source string. Okay, now our this string have been converted to an object. Now we can just go ahead and construct an object for it. Alright, so now we need to fill this data list with the items of this array. Okay, so first we need to add an empty variable that will contain all the elements of that array, and now I would write a loop for iterating through all the elements of that array inside the language model. So list is the variable name of that array, and then length. Okay, so now inside it I will concatenate that variable with the options tab. Okay, option value equals to double quote single plus obj dot list I, and then I will concatenate it with the end tag of that option. So single quote, double quote, and that's it. Alright, so this variable will contain all the values from this array after this loop. Okay, so now we need to set the inner HTML of this data list item with these options. Okay, we have the reference for that data list item in this variable. Okay, so I will write mylist.innerHTML equals to options. Alright, so now if I hover my cursor on it, it will be called, it will be detected by this event, and it will call this populate function, and then populate function will receive this parameter, and parameter will be, with the help of this parameter we will detect that which input tag was used for that event. So let's see if it works or not. Okay, so let's go and open in Chrome It will not work for degree. Now let's check for the languages. Okay, so I have hovered my cursor on it. It has called that populate function, and if I click on it, so you can see that data has been populated inside it. Now let's make a new model, degree, and use the same function for populating those values, and let's see if it works or not. So I will go and make a new JavaScript file for the degree. Okay, and I will write a constructor function with the name degree. Okay, and I need to write the variable the same name that was in the language model, and inside it I will write BSIT, BSCS and BSSE. Okay, you can write anything in this array. Now we have this model degree. So I think this is all we need to do. Okay, if we hover our cursor on it, it will detect that this input received that event, and it will call that populate function with the parameter this, and it will go here and it will construct an object for it, and it will fill the values for this input tag. Okay, so now let's go and check it. Okay, so it's not working. In order to detect the error, that what is the problem with this, let's press the F12, and it's saying that source object is not a constructor. Alright, so now let's go and see. So the problem here that we haven't added a reference for that model. Okay, so let's add degree. Let's go and check it again. So you can see that it's working now. So it's using the same function, same populate function for showing the data in both the text boxes. If you're working on a large project that contains too many drop-down lists, it's always a good practice to write a generic function for populating the data by getting it from any model or from any JSON or XML file. Now there is a one problem in it, that if I hover my cursor on it, every time it call that function and execute that code inside it, it can really slow down your browser. So for making it more efficient, let's add a check inside it that if the inner HTML of this data list item is empty or null, then execute this code, otherwise don't do it. Okay, so now I will write my list dot inner HTML equals to null, or my list dot inner HTML equals to empty. Alright, so I think that it will work. Now let's go and run it again. Activate the debugger mode, and now I have added a breakpoint right here in order to detect that if it comes inside it or not, if the my list item is empty. Okay, so now first time my list item will be empty, the second time it will be filled. So let's see if it works or not. So first time it was empty, it should have been come inside it. Now let's just go with it, and then I will hover my cursor again on it in order to see if it comes inside it or not. So you can see that it is not coming, it's working fine. It's showing the same values. Alright, now I haven't already hovered my cursor on the degree input text box. It should come inside this conditional statement first time. Okay, so it has come. I will do it again, it is not coming. So it can really make your code execute fast and make your browser load your pages really efficiently. So I think that we are done with our functionality, everything that we intended to do. I hope that you have liked it. If you have any question, just comment below. I will answer your questions. I'm going to make few more tutorials on JavaScript for making paintbrush tool with the help of jQuery and JavaScript. So make sure to subscribe this channel and stay tuned for more videos. Thank you for watching this video.
Welcome back everybody, my name is Awais and welcome to the next video of JavaScript Essential Training Series. Alright, so in the last video we've seen how we can get element from HTML through JavaScript by using this get element by ID, get element by tag name, and get element by names. Okay, so in this video we are going to learn how to create elements, how to change element. So right now I'm going to give you a quick example first. So we go back to index.html and let's say I have this element here, p tag, right? We have id is equal to p1. Hello, this is a paragraph. What if I want to change this by JavaScript? So what we can do here, we go back to script.js and here I have the variable where I stored this p1 id and we got that handle through this this element of index.html page by using get element by id. Now we are going to change that. So what I can do, it's very simple. I can use p1 and I can call a method on it, inner HTML is equal to, and then we can set a new value here. So I would just say I changed the text by using JavaScript. And let's save the file. And now I'm gonna take you here, and here we're going to refresh the page and you will see that this will change. Now refresh the page and as you can see that it's telling me I changed the text by using JavaScript. And now if I just comment this out by typing slash here, let's save the file and let's refresh the page, and as you can see here we can see how this is a paragraph which is an original text written in HTML p tag. That's the one. But with the help of this p1 inner HTML we can change that value. Now we learned how to change the text into the p tag by using the ID and then using .inner HTML method. Now I'm going to show you how to create elements using JavaScript. Well, we can create an element. I'm going to create a new variable and then let's just say create p tag is equal to document.create element. Use that, and now we're going to type in the parentheses and in double quotation what kind of element we want to create. So let's say I'm going to create another p tag, and then let's just finish that by adding a semicolon. I'm going to save the file. Now we created an element, but we need to add a data to it. We need to add a text to it, which is a p tag. Right now it's empty. So what I can do, I can use this create p tag variable dot, I'm going to type inner HTML is equal to, and let's just say I just created a new p tag with JavaScript. Okay, so we have created a new p tag. We added this text to it. Now, how do we add that to page, or how do we add this to a particular div, or let's say where we want to add this? Let's say if you want to add this to nav and then you on our list and list item and you want to add a p tag somewhere here, I'm actually going to delete this one. Or you want to add this to something like in a div which has the ID of main container. Let's look at how we add that into a div, which would be the same method to add that to any other element. Now here I'm going to add a space and then I'm going to use this document dot get element. First of all, we need to get that element where we want to add. So I'm gonna get that element by ID, and then that would be our main container, which says main container. I'm going to select it here and let's just paste it here. in case I misspell this. Now after this parentheses, I'm going to type dot, a decimal point, and then we have another method, append child. So add a parentheses, and here we can call that variable where we created a new p tag and store that into create p tag here. Okay, I'm going to call this a variable create p tag. Let's save the file, and I'm going to refresh the page. And let's just refresh the page, and down here you can see I just created a new p tag with JavaScript. Let's close this console, and then I'm gonna go back and let's just say updated. Save it. So we're sure that we created a new one. So we actually created a new one. So I just created a new p tag with JavaScript updated. So I use basically two things here. I created a new variable, and then I created a new element by using document.createElement method, and then we use the p tag here, and then create p tag.innerHTML. I use this method to add text to it, and then we actually append that to our main container. Now we have this create element, but if you want to be specific, such as if you want to be specific to create another text element, so what you can do, I'm going to create text element is equal to document dot create text node. So that's how you can be more specific. So I can just type here, this is another text node, and then instead of just using a p tag and then adding this create p tag dot inner HTML and adding this paragraph to it, I can simply use create element, create, this is a variable, and then document dot create text node, and then add this to it. Now I'm going to add this to our main container. So let's just type document dot get element by ID, and then here let's just type main container, and then dot append child, and then we can say create text element variable. Save the file. Let's go back and refresh, and let's see if we have that. Yep, we got that there. So you want to be specific, then you can use this. Well, I had so many questions that whenever I watch a tutorial or I learn a new language, I would always ask a question that how come this person know to use this? Well, I've been saying this to any of my tutorial, whether it's a Java tutorial or it's a JavaScript tutorial. I know a few other languages as well, but anything you want to find out in the language, you need to go to the documentation. You need to go to the documentation of whether it's JavaScript. So let's just say DOM HTML, and then we search for the reference. So one of them is JavaScript HTML DOM W3 School, and here if we go down here, we can see this document, DOM document, and then here we can find out, we can get the element by ID, by tag name, by class name, and then we can change the element by element.innerHTML. We can set the attributes, and we have this, as you can see, I've just used that create element, which creates a HTML element. It can remove the child as well. It can append the child. You see these methods, replace child, write text, okay? So all of these we just used before, and these are all the methods that you can, properties basically, you can use them from HTML. So I'll just show you the DOM HTML documentation as well. So no one remembered these things. So remember, if you want to be better with any programming language, you always go back to the documentation. I mean, obviously, to create something, you need to watch tutorials. You need to have someone to show you how to do stuff by using a logic or creating something. You need to know, but for the basic stuff, you need to find the documentation of a particular language. Here, I'm going to show you the text node I just created. I probably have to search for Google. I actually did before I was creating this tutorial. So in this video, we'll learn how to create a new element. I mean, it's not just the P. You can just type a element here, anchor tag. You can do that, and you can type inner element and then type the text, and this will just create a anchor tag as well. So you can create a list item here as well. It's all those HTML tags that you can use here. If you don't know about HTML, then I think you shouldn't be watching this video, or you shouldn't be watching JavaScript, because JavaScript is the third language you should be learning after HTML and CSS3. So I'm pretty sure whoever watching these tutorials know HTML and CSS, so I don't have to explain why I'm writing LI here. So this is it. To search in the documentation, and we're gonna work on the forms from the next video. Chase. And yes, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and please join our Facebook group. Alright, thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.